What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 13 Knots Chapter 221 The Prophecy of Change, 2 in 1. Haruki looked at the strange little toad in front of him. Mount Myoboku, Ryuchi Cave, and Wet Bone Forest are the three holy places of summoning beasts. The Otsutsuki clan thrived here before they descended on the planet. As a medical ninja, Haruki has only been to the Wet Bone Forest. The purpose is to learn Sage Mode. Although he was unsuccessful, Katsuyu Immortal impressed him very much. Compared to its huge size, there is only one Katsuyu Wet Bone Forest. Mount Myoboku and Ryuchi Cave can be called Toad Kingdom and Snake Kingdom. And Mount Myoboku's Big Toad Sage has the most drama in the original. Several prophecies deeply affected the entire ninja world. From when he was young, he predicted that Sage of Six Paths defeated his mother Kagaya, to Naruto Master, the power of the 9 big tail beasts. Hardly missed. According to Haruki's personal feelings, he even felt that Toad Sage deliberately made predictions to guide them in order to protect his planet. According to the original story, Toad Sage has as much strength as Sage of Six Paths. It is also called the oldest Aborigines, facing the Otsutsuki family from outside. What it does is undoubtedly the most trouble-free and effective. Especially to challenge Sage of Six Paths, but why should you invite him this time? Haruki thought of what he had done. If Toad Sage is playing a big game, he is the one who destroys the board. According to the current progress, I don't know if there is any scene of Naruto saving the world. The so-called son of prophecy will be brought out of work. I see. Haruki nodded and said, I will definitely go in 2 days. Since it was the invitation of Toad Sage, he shouldn't refuse it because of reason. And he was also curious what it would say to himself. Did it also come up with a prophecy? He drew a flying thunder god mark on the toad. The locations of the 3 holy sites are very remote. Under normal circumstances, ninjas are summoned by the reverse summoning technique. But Haruki is not the summoning contractor of Mount Myoboku. Leaning on your feet is too troublesome. Flying thunder god technique is the most convenient. Little Toad got the answer he wanted and left with satisfaction. As for waiting for a day or two, it's not a big deal. Anyway, Toad Sage always went to sleep in a daze. Should be all right now. Haruki turned his head to look at Tsunade, his eyes gleaming with danger. Still a get off work. Tsunade took a step back, arms around his chest, with a vigilant look, and said, this is your own customized 8-hour work system. As a Hokage, you can't take the lead in skipping work. I haven't seen you behave like this in normal times. Haruki couldn't help but vomit. Where is it? I have always followed the rules. Tsunade straightened his upper body, his chest rose and fell twice, and said with some dissatisfaction, don't slander me, you are the one who doesn't follow the rules. Haruki thought for a moment, it seems to be the case. Except for being carried back home by himself, Tsunade is very serious at work almost every day. Well, sometimes it's not good to be too serious. Master Tsunade, Master Haruki. Shizune, who had left, knocked on the door and returned to the office. Anbu has a piece of encrypted information with a strong illusion trace on it, we can't crack it. It should be Obito's. Haruki picked up the scroll to disperse chakra, and the contents suddenly appeared. As he expected, it was the news from Obito. The above said that he has found 4 teammates, namely Darui, No More Cut, Black Hole Leifong, and Kakuzu. The first 3 teammates were fine, but the last one was a little surprised. Haruki remembered that Kakuzu spent most of his time in Konoha since he deposited all his wealth in the bank. Actually will join Akatsuki organization, he thought a little, and he probably understood the reason. It may be his problem that almost all ninjas currently offering the highest rewards on the black market come from Konoha. Kakuzu was almost unemployed and lost his source of income. There is now a powerful Akatsuki organization, and he joins it, and may be able to hunt more ninjas outside Konoha. I hope you will not be bankrupted by Konan. Haruki smiled, then looked down. After gathering the 4 players, Obito intends to prove his loyalty to Uchiha Madara and show his worth by the way, so he asked Haruki, which tail beast should be attacked, is the best for Konoha? This is an interesting question. Haruki handed the scroll to Tsunade. After a while, Tsunade groaned and said, now the 2 tails, 8 tails, and 9 tails are in Konoha. If the other tail beasts are less beneficial to Konoha, they are naturally the tail beasts of Iwagakure and Kirigakure. In the long run, catching these 2 hostile ninja village tail beasts can indeed reduce Konoha's threat. But Haruki felt unnecessary. After all, these tail beasts will not cause much trouble. Instead, he had a better idea, Tsunagakure's tail beast. According to their relationship with Konoha, Haruki is not convenient to start with them. But the strength of the tail beast far exceeds that of the average ninja. After Haruki and Tsunade leave Konoha and no longer care about things, the tail beast becomes the biggest threat. Just like the nuclear threat in previous lives, this kind of power is best in the master's hands. And Tsunagakure, who lost the tail beast, will rely more on Konoha. All in all, although not quite authentic, Haruki is not an indecisive person. He shared this idea with Tsunade again. Tsunade was a little stunned when he heard about it at first, but he didn't directly refuse. Haruki made a lot of sense. After all, they are Konoha's ninjas, and they are kind enough without Tsunade directly in the bag. Haruki immediately replied a letter to Obito, suggesting that he capture Tsunade's one tail. Now that Gaara is not born, one-tailed Jinchuriki should still be part of the blessing. Fenfu is old and relatively weak. A few teammates selected by Obito are more than enough to deal with one tail. After the letter was written, Haruki and Tsunade dealt with the business for another 2 hours, and finally waited until the end of get-off work. Ah, Tsunade raised his hands and stretched. At this moment, Haruki crashed into her towering mountain. Before she could say anything, she was picked up by her waist. Back to the room in an instant. A few days later, Haruki appeared in Mount Myoboku vigorously. Like the name, there are mountains and rivers everywhere, a beautiful scenery. Since it is called the Kingdom of Toads, and each of the toads is large in size and has a long lifespan, naturally it cannot be a small valley, but a mountain range to accommodate it. Haruki, you are finally here. Just when Haruki arrived at Mount Myoboku, Jiraiya appeared in front of him in less than a minute. Other things Jiraiya may not care much, but it's about Toad Sage, he is very positive. It can be said that he has sacrificed his life in the original work. Hurry up, follow me to see Toad Sage. Before Haruki answered, Jiraiya pulled him up and ran deep into the mountain. On a stone platform resembling a rosette in a temple, Shinshu saw a huge old toad. The original name is Toad Sage of Toadmaru. The whole body is orange, with a doctor's hat on his head and a prayer bead on his neck with the word, oil, engraved on it. Its eyes narrowed slightly, half awake, as if not opened, and there was a peaceful smile on its face. There is a hip flask on the left-hand side, Big Toad Sage. Jiraiya shouted. Hearing the sound, Toadmaru slowly raised his head and asked, who is the one coming? Jiraiya and Haruki. Jiraiya is used to Toad Pill every time the same questioning, you want to see him? Oh, Haruki. Toadmaru tried to open his eyes and looked at Haruki beside Jiraiya. Big Toad Sage. Haruki noticed its movements and bowed slightly, maintaining proper etiquette. Although he doesn't catch a cold at Mount Myoboku, the tradition of respecting the old and loving the young still cannot be lost. I heard that you inherited wood style, but you can't see the shadow of Yuya. Toad Pill picked up the wineglass and took a sip. Haruki did not answer. Yuya, namely Otsutsuki Hagoromo, Sage of Six Paths. He was not a descendant of Yuya. Naturally, it will not be similar to Sage of Six Paths. Don't mind, boy, I just miss old friends a little. Toadmaru sighed and went back to business. In a long life, I have seen my future once. I will meet Jiraiya several hundred years later and pass on the power of the toad to him. This is something that can influence the ninja world. No one will guide you. Under the circumstances, Jiraiya came to Mount Myoboku and became the contractor, and he was the key figure guiding the Son of Prophecy. The reason why Jiraiya travels around is precisely because of his predictions. He wanted to find the legendary Son of Prophecy to save the future ninja world. According to the plot of the original, he found Nagato, Minato and Naruto successively. In the end, the so-called prophecy was realized on Naruto. But Haruki had some doubts. Big Toad Sage supposedly knew about the reincarnation of Indra and Ashura. After all, it was he and Sage of Six Paths who had appointed Ashura as the successor of Ninzong, which caused Indra's dissatisfaction, which led to a fight. But the other day, I dreamed of a new prophecy. Toadmaru changed his voice and said, I summoned Jiraiya and learned that Konoha had captured Thunder Country and Cloud Shinobi Village. There is no doubt that the time is exactly right. Haruki raised an eyebrow and asked, what is the new prophecy? Toadmaru looked at him with a serious tone and said, Jiraiya is no longer the key figure leading the Son of Prophecy, but you, Haruki. Haruki shook his head, with no expression on his face. I don't want to find any prophetic son, and I angered me to say that this is unfair to Jiraiya. Haruki? Jiraiya quickly pulled his arm and motioned him not to talk nonsense. Although he himself was also very disappointed after receiving the news earlier. The hard work of the first half of his life seemed to vanish in an instant. But he soon figured out that without this prediction, his life would be easier in the future. Maybe he can really travel through the world of ninja, and he doesn't need to think about anything. The so-called nothing is loose. Haruki glared at him. This guy didn't know if he was really stupid or pretending to be confused. The so-called prophecy is nothing more than a tool, man. It kicks away when it's useless. Whether you like it or not, this is the prophecy I see. Toadmaru didn't care about Haruki's attitude at all, with a smile on his face, and said, I only hope that after meeting the Son of Prophecy, before you make a decision, you must consider the future of the ninja world. Haruki was a little angry. He hates babbled guys the most. The mother in the previous life took him to the fortune-telling, and it was the same emotion, which was annoying. But Jiraiya is by his side, he can't do it directly, and he can perceive the almost infinite natural energy in this big toad sage, which seems to be dying. According to the so-called rating, it should be 6 paths. His current strength is still a bit worse. Like Senju Hashirama, it is invincible under 6 paths. As a key person, you will be like Jiraiya, free to enter and exit Mount Myoboku, access relevant information, and learn all the magic. Toad Maru continued. He could tell that Haruki didn't have much respect for him. It seems that he is not a big toad sage, but just an ordinary toad. But I have to say that Haruki has such capital, the ninja who can change the prophecy. It is even rarer than the so-called son of prophecy. According to Jiraiya, if Haruki really has the strength to unify the ninja world, then who is more like the son of prophecy? Changing the ninja world and bringing peace is the child of prophecy. What Haruki is doing now seems to be on the road towards the son of prophecy. Haruki? Jiraiya touched Haruki again. He didn't want him and Mount Myoboku to disagree. Haruki glanced at him, nodded slightly, and said, if I can really meet the son of prophecy, I will educate him. He can't do anything to Toad Sage right now. What's more, he thought this way, even if there was no prediction. Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief. Toad Maru looked at Haruki and said after a moment, Jiraiya will take him away. Okay. After Jiraiya bowed, Kazuharu went out of the temple gate. Since you don't have the so-called prophecy, go back to Konoha and work hard. What's the point of working? Upon hearing this, Jiraiya waved his hand quickly. I will continue to collect materials from various places to create my novels. He is used to the life of wandering everywhere. Back to Konoha, it's not very accustomed. Moreover, the teacher died, leaving him with only two teammates, Jiraiya and Tsunade. Forget it, whatever you want. Haruki thought for a while, but didn't force him. Go, I'll take you to the library. Jiraiya led him to a white building. Haruki glanced around and entered the house, full of scrolls and books. After thousands of years of accumulation, the Toad Kingdom's collection of books surpassed his imagination. Haruki, do you want to be a contractor of Toad? Jiraiya asked suddenly. Need not. Haruki shook his head. The summoning beast is of little use to him. The summoning beast of the three holy places, really, Katsuyu is suitable for him. At least it can help. If there is a fight, he alone is enough. Haruki picked up a book nearby and read it. It was a matter of ancient times. I probably read it, then picked up the next one. This time it is Shanshu. The so-called Shienju is an ninjutsu performed by chakra, which is a mixture of natural energy, physical energy, and spiritual energy. Chakra was brought by the Otsutsuki clan. Natural energy is a native power, but pure natural energy is rarely used by anyone. The reason why Toad Sage wants to stop the Otsutsuki clan is that the sacred tree will swallow all life on the planet. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 222 The Empress, 2-in-1, Haruki stayed in Mount Myoboku for a week. Use shadow clone technique to finish reading all the unknown number of books. For the ninja outside, the most precious thing is the cultivation method of sage mode and all kinds of fairy skills. Although it is of little use to him, Haruki's sage mode is derived from the system, and it is powerful to ultimate, so there is no need to strengthen it. But it is not without gain. He got a lot of information about Sage of Six Paths. Such as Pure Land. Before the arrival of the Otsutsuki clan, there was no such thing. Combined with the original work, this should be the last insurance for Sage of Six Paths. If Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke can't seal Otsutsuki Kagaya, he might do it himself. But Haruki is more interested in natural energy. The Daijinmu clan has the supreme bloodline, the so-called blood succession net. Can be immune to almost all ninjutsu, but cannot work against chakra. The chakra of ninjas and ninja beasts comes from the sacred tree. The sacred tree obtained chakra by transforming natural energy. In a sense, natural energy has a higher authority. He wondered if practicing pure natural energy is equivalent to cultivating immortals. Haruki returned to Konoha alone. Jiraiya left Mount Myoboku a few days ago, and I don't know where to go to draw materials. Unlike when I left, Konoha's atmosphere at this time is very festive. Discussions and smiles can be seen everywhere. Haruki glanced at the billboards on both sides of the street. It is playing the scene of Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Tsukumo and others returning to the court. The crowd onlookers shouted their names. After nearly half a month of busy work, Thunder Country and Cloud Shinobi Village have been digested at least on the surface. The rest is long-term integration. Although Minato is the person in charge, they're temporary and have not been officially appointed. Let them come back this time just for the merits and rewards. Haruki came to the Hokage building. Tsunade saw him appear outside the door and immediately stood up, but considering the Shizune and Uzumaki Poria behind her, she suppressed the excessive intimacy. Master Haruki. Shizune and Fulling bowed slightly and saluted. You go out first. Haruki responded with a smile and waved his hand immediately. Shizune and Fulling glanced at each other and stepped back very interestingly. Think I didn't? After the door closed, Haruki looked at Tsunade and asked. No, Tsunade pouted and said unhappily, after a few days of walking, I don't know to sneak back. Haruki stretched out her hand, cupped her face, and smoothed the corners of her mouth. Tsunade's eyes suddenly softened and became tender and soft, responding to his movements. After a long time, the two separated. Haruki squeezed her face and explained, I learned a lot of interesting things at Mount Myoboku. I will tell you later. Tsunade nodded, took his hand, and sat down at the coffee table. What's the matter lately? Haruki looked at Tsunade intently, her delicate face clearly visible. Cute and beautiful. Tsunade noticed his gaze, and his expression was slightly unnatural. She picked up the teapot, poured a glass of water, and handed it to him. After Haruki shifted her gaze, she slowly talked about recent events. Minato, Tsukumo and others arrived in Konoha the day before yesterday, and you happened to be back. I plan to hold a commendation meeting tomorrow and redistribute positions for them. I plan to use Konoha Village and New Leaf Village as the army according to your ideas. The Kingdom of Thunder and the Kingdom of Thunder, as regimes, reform and reorganize the entire Kingdom of Sha. Haruki put down the teacup. This was indeed brought up by him. For a long time, Shinobu in each country were divided. Even though Ninja Village accepts the aid of the state, and protects the country at a critical moment. But in general, the relationship is not close, essentially it is employment. And Haruki meant to unite Shinobu and the country. Ninja Village became a part of the country, as an army, receiving salary and deployment. If this is the case, we may need a new metropolis. By then, Hokage will no longer be the leader of Konoha, but the name or emperor of the entire summer country. Haruki said thoughtfully. The former metropolis of the Kingdom of Fire and metropolis of the Kingdom of Thunder are not considered the central location of the Kingdom of Sha. He is more inclined to build a new city, a familiar city in previous lives. A modern and brightly lit city. Emperor, Tsunade repeated. She didn't have any opinion on identifying the new metropolis, but the new words that Haruki said made her a little interested. Yes, the Emperor. Haruki raised his hand, touched her head, and said, by then, you will be the first female emperor in the history of Ninja World. Tsunade tilted his head and asked, what's the use? Haruki couldn't help laughing. When I changed to another person, I was so excited that I could become an emperor and couldn't be myself. But Tsunade seemed unmoved. She is not here. Maybe you can't get out of bed even more. Haruki thought for a while and replied. Tsunade was slightly startled, but after a long time she quickly understood what Haruki was talking about. She turned Byakugan over and patted his right hand, touching her head, annoyed. Can you be more serious? Ahem, you go on. Haruki suppressed the smile at the corner of his mouth and waved his hand. HMPH, when I become the Empress, the first one is to deal with you. Tsunade noticed his expression, folded his fists in both hands, and said viciously. I will definitely accept the flogging of the Empress. Haruki answered seriously. Tsunade was suddenly depressed. This guy really doesn't get oil and rice, only one loses. She hummed twice, and her whole body was uncomfortable. Haruki raised his eyebrows and took a sip from the teacup. Tsunade became even more angry when he saw this. Why didn't you come to coax her? At this time, she felt black tea being poured into her mouth. Haruki wiped the corners of his mouth and said, I'll moisturize your throat after saying so much. Tsunade licked his mouth subconsciously. It seems a bit sweet. She didn't dare to look at Haruki's eyes, coughed lightly, and said, just the day before yesterday, a big incident happened in Tsunade. One tail was taken away. Haruki touched the teacup. Obito did the work of one tail. In addition, no other organization can do it. Although the two Fengying suffered a miserable encounter, their strength is not too weak. Magnet style is still difficult to wrap around. Luo Sha once relied on magnet style to suppress one tail. The average ninja really has no good way to take Fengying. Only Obito. Mangekyo Sharingan Tionka Tail Beast. Take away Kamui's escape is superb. Of course several of his teammates are also pretty good. Needless to say, Darui, No More Slash, Black Hole Leifong, and Kakuzu are all famous elite ninjas. The crowd of soldiers blocking Tsunade shouldn't be a problem. During this battle, one-tailed Jinchuriki died, and third Case-Cage, Luosha, and Shio were injured. The three of them were also injured. Haruki felt a little surprised. Could it be that Obito used Mangekyo Sharingan? Isn't he afraid of revealing his identity? Tsunade glanced at him and said, almost, besides the fact that Akatsuki has one more member, Hoshigaki Kisame, but also because of Sasori's puppets, they have driven them to an extreme point. I see. Haruki nodded. I forgot about Sasori. His two puppets, paired with one tail, are really tricky. And sharing good fortune is considered perfect Jinchuriki. After this battle, the name of Sasori of the Red Sand actually overwhelmed Akatsuki's organization. Tsunade closed the hair behind her ears and said, Obito probably didn't expect the first battle to be so difficult. It's good. Obito opened Mangekyo Sharingan. Most of it is floating. Let Sasori hit him to make sure that he is not invincible in the world. Haruki didn't think it was a bad thing. Anyway, the purpose has been achieved. One tail was taken away. Tsunade lost a great help. Even though there are Sasori's puppets, they are still inferior to the tail beasts. Tsunade was destroyed by the battle and began to rebuild. At the same time, third Case-Cage ceded the position of Fengying to Luosha on the grounds of age and injury. After a pause, Tsunade looked at Haruki and said, Rosa's first thing as Fengying is to invite you to Tsunade. I suspect he wants to ask questions. He shouldn't have the guts, mostly he wants to ask why. Haruki shook his head and said, Rosa did not dare to tear her face with Konoha. Even if she had doubts, she would not say it clearly. The most important thing is that it is not us, but a mysterious organization. Obito, they all hid their identities. After all, Akatsuki clearly belongs to Rain Shinobi Village. Once known, he will definitely be besieged by Tsunade. The Nagato trio didn't want to see such a situation. Obito and Ju will also take it into consideration. The two sides can be regarded as honeymoon period, there is no reason to disagree because of such a matter. However, the characteristics of other people are also very obvious. No one knows Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan. Even if it is used, Tsunade will not be able to determine its true identity, but Darui and Hoshigaki Kisame should be recognized, right? Good. Tsunade talked about this and couldn't help but smile. After the battle spread, 3rd Mizukage immediately showed that they were all Kirigakure's rebels, and what they did had nothing to do with Kirigakure. Haruki narrowed his eyes and said, even if we form an alliance with Iwagakure, they are still afraid of us Konoha. Obito's next target may be locked in Kirigakure. Let's break this so-called alliance from the inside. He remembered that in the original, Obito controlled 4th Mizukage Yagura, which caused Kirigakure to be in blood and terror, and his strength was greatly weakened. Although Rin Nohara is not dead, Obito can still attack Kirigakure and destroy the alliance by the way. Are you going to see Luo Sha? Tsunade thought about it and asked, if you don't want to see him, just send someone over, just as congratulations on him becoming 4th Kazekage. I took the time to go there. Haruki didn't want to destroy the relationship with Tsunade for the time being. Tsunade nodded, got up, picked up a scroll on the desk, and handed it to Haruki. This is a treaty signed by Shumo and Iwagakure. I have seen it, it is what you want. Haruki opened the scroll and scanned it again, as expected. The most outrageous condition he put forward for Iwagakure was to trade a tail beast for 4,000 rock shinobi prisoners. Although they had 2 tail beasts, they firmly refused the request. With Haruki Wood-style invincible, only the tail beast can give them a sense of security. Haruki expected that they would not agree. The requirements of the second version are simple and clear, trade, and allow Konoha to mine in the land of the earth. The land of the earth has a large area of rocky mountains, so various mineral veins are buried underground. What Haruki has to do is to use Shajiguo's higher tech products to reduce costs and impact the commerce of Tujiguo. Similar to dumping. On the other hand, the non-economic savvy daimyo and Iwagakure Tsuchikage Onogi are absolutely unaware of the pitfalls behind this seemingly simple business condition. On the contrary, they may feel that this condition is too good. The advantage brought by productivity can be seen in Madara. After Haruki's advanced layout, Konoha's economic level far surpasses Donokuni and Iwagakure. It means that they can exchange clothes, food, gadgets, etc. for gold, silver, ores. Then put 4,000 rock shinobi back. Haruki put down the scroll and said, stay here, we'll waste our food and manpower. I'll let Shizune notify Anbu in a moment. Tsunade couldn't help but smile. This makes them seem to have suffered a loss, so Haruki doesn't care about these rock shinobi. By the way, there is one more thing, which is a good thing. Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Khan are planning to get married in a week. Tsunade got up again, went to the desk to pick up a small red notebook, and said, they sent us the invitation as soon as possible. Haruki remembered the conversation with Hyuga Hiyashi and Mihara Yamashiro, and smiled. Where are Kushina and Minato? They're not going to get married yet? Minato just came back, there are so many things, I probably didn't think of this thing. Tsunade explained. She knew that Minato was busy establishing a theater and military school in Shajiguo. But for her Hokage, it greatly reduced her workload. She just wants to have a few more ninjas like Minato. Her work will be easier. Unfortunately, there is only one Minato. It's just the time to get married. As the teacher of the two of them, you should mention something. Tsunade turned around, looked at Haruki, and said, they have no father and no mother. You are like their parents. Haruki nodded. Be a teacher for one day, and be a father for life. The two chatted for a few more days. It enters the working state. A commendation meeting will be held tomorrow. There are still more things to do. Shizune and Fulling re-entered the office. In the afternoon, all the instructions went on. The propaganda department took the lead in distributing news in every corner of Konoha. Although the ninja coalition that had left did not return, the rewards for the merits and deeds proceeded as usual. Except for the more important positions of Minato and others, the rest of the ninjas have basically received certain rewards. Almost half of Konoha is involved. Until the beginning of the meeting the next day, the celebration had not stopped. But to say who has contributed the most this time, of course Haruki and Minato. Although Haruki has long been famous, wood style was exposed for the first time. Wood style has an extraordinary meaning for Konoha. Haruki thus achieved a reputation comparable to Senju Hashirama. If you want the position of Hokage, it's probably the first sentence. And Minato's achievements are not bad, and it is the first time in the world of shinobi to lay down the land of thunder. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 223 Kurama Flight, 2-in-1, said to be a commendation meeting. In fact, it is more like a meeting of the policy department. Haruki sat on Tsunade's left hand. In front of them were rows of seats filled with members of the policy department. Namikaze Minato and Hitaki Sakumo, who were great heroes, sat in the first row. Later, Konoha residents came to join in the fun. Actually, it's not just joining in the fun. More than tens of thousands of people participated in this foreign war. Basically, the Konoha residents who come here are more or less intimate with these ninjas. Haruki looked around, and no surprise, Jiraiya and Orochimaru did not come. The two of them didn't care about the so-called rewards at all. Or looked down on it. The former Jiraiya's character is too free, it is impossible for him to be tied to Konoha for a long time. The latter, Orochimaru, is just the opposite, very otaku, but currently only interested in longevity and ninjutsu. He helped Konoha because Konoha can bring him the corresponding conditions. Otherwise, he would have defected long ago. Even if it is Haruki, it is impossible to keep him. After waiting 10 minutes, Tsunade stood up and began to speak regularly. It's nothing more than some gratitude after victory. But looking at everyone's reaction, the effect is pretty good. No, it should be said that they are all winners anyway, and they are happy to say anything. If you are defeated, no matter how much you encourage, it will be difficult to be useful. This time, the rewards only involve Konoha village and Shinya village, and there is no Shajiguo. Because most ninjas are actually not suitable for governing the country. Their content from childhood to university is how to kill the enemy, not how to make the country strong. But fortunately, the university Haruki established is working. In a few years, the growth of the younger generation will replace the current ninja and become more intelligent and capable. Eventually they will emerge as Vice Admiral one after another Minato. Even if he can't learn Flying Thunder God technique. After Tsunade finished speaking, Haruki stood up. Cheers burst out in the square. They knew that the fundamental reason why this war could be won at such a small price was Haruki. The wood style that reproduces the ninja world is once again like Senju Hashirama of the year, sweeping everything. In the previous battle of the ninja world, Konoha clearly won, but he didn't get anything. In fact, it is not much different from failure. But this war has won too much. Too much makes them feel like they are dreaming. The Land of Thunder, which is no less than the Land of Fire, and the Cloud Shinobi village, which is not inferior to Konoha village, is all in the bag. It is a miracle, and such a miracle was brought about by Haruki. A sound that lasted for several minutes. Haruki's mouth was interrupted several times. He had no choice but to wait for the end of the cheers. The other ninjas were not impatient at all. On the contrary, I am very envious. Apart from Senju Hashirama, who can get such prestige? So good. Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but said with emotion. Because of his young age, he did not stay in the seat with Makoto. Instead, they watched the square with Shisui and Bai. Although he has been treated strictly by Makoto over the past few years, Haruki has actually influenced him the most. Strictly speaking, his mother, Makoto, is Haruki's apprentice, and is close to him in terms of acting style and education. What Uchiha Itachi learned was nothing more than Haruki's knowledge taught by Makoto. Brother, what are you talking about? Bai blinked. He didn't know much about Haruki, only that it was Makoto's teacher. You still don't understand. Uchiha Itachi, like an adult, said, when you go to school, you will naturally understand what I mean. Bai curled his lips. His brother in vain is good at everything, but he loves to treat him as a child. Although he is indeed a child, he is the same. Seeing that the momentum weakened, Haruki on the stage raised his hand and began to recite the achievements and rewards of Minato and others. Consider the number of people. He only selected 30 of them as re-reviews. As for the others, it will be broadcast in Konoha village through various channels. Let every resident know. Haruki speaks from the reciprocal to the positive according to the merits. The last one is Minato. When it comes to Minato, the square once again welcomes heroes. The position given to Minato is the same as the original one, but the scope has nearly doubled, which means that power and responsibilities have also been further increased. After the recognition, the next 2 days will be Konoha's carnival time. But Haruki has other things to do. The next day, Haruki called Hyuga Hiyashi. Sit down, what would you like to drink? I also can. Hyuga Hiyashi is a little cautious, Haruki seems to be too polite, which makes him very unaccustomed. Drink green tea. Haruki took out a bag of tea leaves from the tea cabinet and made a cup for Hyuga Hiyashi. Thanks. Hyuga Hiyashi took the teacup. As a traditional Hyuga family, normally, they follow the tea ceremony when they drink tea. But Haruki naturally didn't dare to ask for anything. It doesn't matter if you drink plain water. Hyuga Hiyashi blew the teacup and took a sip. Tea is a good tea. It is this technique that wastes such good tea. The evaluation flashed in his mind, put down the teacup, and asked, Master Haruki, call me, is there anything to explain? Originally, you were the one who was going to get married. You shouldn't bother you, but you, as the Minister of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transportation, this matter is none other than you. Hyuga Hiyashi was stunned, with some bad feelings. If I didn't understand what this department was doing at the beginning, after a few years, I knew it a long time ago. Wouldn't it be for him to go to the Land of Thunder to build the railway? To be honest, he wanted to do something like Minato. It's showing the limelight again, and it can make a lot of benefits. Fortunately, The Hyuga clan is not as proud of the Yu Chiba clan, and the population has increased in recent years, which is not limited to the Ministry of Transportation. Especially the snipers in the army are almost entirely undertaken by the Hyuga clan. Master Haruki, you can tell me anything. Getting married will not affect my work. Hyuga Hiyashi said loyally, as expected of Konoha's pillars. Haruki took a piece of paper from the desk and handed it to him. What is this? Hyuga Hiyashi glanced at the drawing with dense lines, and couldn't help but bewildered on his face. At a glance, it looks like a star. But it also implies a certain structure. It's like a sketch of a town. He knows the current town as well, and there is absolutely no match with it. Our new metropolis in Shajiguo. Hyuga Hiyashi opened his mouth. He seemed to have guessed what Haruki meant. Do you want me to build this city? Congratulations on your answer. But Hyuga Hiyashi didn't have the slightest joy. The ghost knows how long it takes to build a city. Did his dignified Hyuga clan head actually become a contractor? This picture is very complicated. I don't trust others, but you have Byakugan. Generally speaking, it is impossible to make mistakes. You are the person in charge, and I am not afraid of deviations in the construction process. Hyuga Hiyashi glanced at Haruki and then at the sketch. He had understood the implication. If something goes wrong, he is also responsible. I roughly divide the new metropolis into 4 areas: residential areas, industrial areas, commercial areas, and administrative areas. Haruki knew what Hyuga Hiyashi was thinking. There will be different buildings in the 4 areas. I plan to build a memorial hall in the administrative district, which will display the history of the city, from its construction to the future. Memorial. Hyuga Hiyashi muttered to himself. He quickly understood the function of the memorial hall and its significance to the Hyuga clan. As building cities, they will be remembered forever to some extent. This is a very effective declaration and card for their big ninja clan. In the future, anyone who lives in or has been to a metropolis will know their Hyuga clan. Thinking of this, Hyuga Hiyashi's breathing was a little short. Who doesn't want to remain famous forever? Especially the whole family. I understand, Haruki-sama, I will do my best in this matter. Hyuga Hiyashi took a deep breath and promised. Then please. Haruki couldn't help smiling as he watched him carefully collecting the drafting drawings. For an ancient family that prides itself on being elegant and inherited, the name is sometimes more attractive than Billy. Besides, Hyuga Hiyashi is a clever patriarch. Besides, I plan to build enough railways to connect the towns of Shajiguo. Haruki paused and said, the railway speed is not fast enough now. I hope that your department and the research institute will cooperate to further increase the speed. If it can reach the speed of Jonin, then the management and construction of Shajiguo will be more important, convenient. I try my best. Hyuga Hiyashi hesitated. In fact, he didn't believe in his heart that the railway could get to this point. I will find a helper for you. Haruki patted him on the shoulder, without telling him who it was. Your top priority now is to let people delineate the location and scope of the new metropolis, deal with the site, and then recruit people. The foundation work in the early stage can be completed by the ninja. Okay. Hyuga Hiyashi stood up, bowed, and left Haruki's office with the sketch. Then the next thing. Haruki finished drinking the water in the teacup and appeared in the Kurama ecological base. Of course not to let Nine Tails be Hyuga Hiyashi's helper. It's okay to let it destroy the town, but it's too difficult for a fox to build a town. In front of the river with excellent scenery. Yu Wooden Golem was holding a roll of tissue, wiping his eyes from time to time, while staring at the romance drama on TV. Behind her, there are reduced versions of 8 Tails and 9 Tails. 2-tailed beasts sit in front of the computer and play League of Legends. There are also various snacks next to it. The only miserable thing is 0 Tail. It is distributing the Konoha village courier. When Haruki saw this scene, he couldn't help being lost in thought. Are they too leisurely? They were exhausted in the office, and these guys were eating snacks and watching the drama and playing games. It is simply intolerable. Who is the captive? Are you going to win? Haruki asked warmly. Don't make a noise, it's at the point. Kurama didn't look up Kaido. Crazy operation with both hands on the keyboard. Haruki glanced at its character, Syndra. A female mage playing with a ball. As a tailed beast, Kurama has first-rate reflexes, and its operation is naturally first class. It's all a positive record. 1. Kurama couldn't help yelling. Soon I realized something was wrong. There seemed to be a familiar voice just now. It turned around and saw Haruki, its small face that was full of smiles suddenly stiffened. Morning, Haruki-sama. Kurama quickly showed a kind expression. Although somewhat reluctant. On the other side, Gyuki felt angry for a moment when he saw Haruki. It will not forget that Killer Bee died in his hands. But before he spoke, he received Kurama's eyes. It is reminded of the teachings of the recent period. All, in a word, it is impossible to rival. If Haruki is offended, even if it is a tail beast, it will be difficult to mix in the ninja world. Its complexion changed again and again, after all, it didn't say anything. Haruki didn't pay attention to its reaction. He came to look for Kurama today. Kurama, how long will it take you to fly from here to Cloud Shinobi Village? If it's the fastest speed, maybe half an hour. After a little thought, Kurama raised his head triumphantly and said, in terms of speed, no one can be faster than the old man except time and space ninjutsu. Haruki nodded in satisfaction. Half an hour almost caught up with him. Do you want to travel around Ninja World in the future? What? Kurama looked at him incredulously. Could it be that his ears had a problem? You mean the old man can leave this ecological base? As soon as he said this, Gyuki and Yu Wooden Golem, who was eavesdropping next to him, suddenly looked envious. Nine Tails is different from them after all. After all, it is the tail beast of Konoha village. Not a captive. You can break through the restrictions of the ecological base according to the situation, but still belong to Konoha. Good good. Kurama nodded eagerly. Even if he wants to return to Konoha in the end, it is a good thing to be able to go out. Even if you look at the beautiful scenery for a long time, you will feel bored. Now you return to your original shape and drive me to Cloud Shinobi Village. Okay. Kurama swelled rapidly, and after a while, it turned into a huge behemoth tens of meters high. Sunny Tree stood on its back, like an ant. Kurama screamed in excitement, and quickly flew into the air, heading towards Cloud Shinobi Village. Gyuki at his feet couldn't help sighing. Has even Kurama, who has always been proud, been tamed by humans? In the past, besides Sage of Six Paths, who could ride on its back? It just wants to go out too. The speed of the rushing electric switch caused an astonishing sound of wind. Haruki used chakra to stabilize her figure. But the oncoming wind and waves were too fierce. Let his hair sway back wildly. In addition, the thinness of air also makes people feel uncomfortable. At this speed, it is impossible for ordinary people to bear it. Haruki's hands began to form seals. Chakra formed a transparent barrier in front of him. Genin's strength. The barrier broke. He increased chakra again. Average Chunin's chakra level. The barrier is intact. It continued to Cloud Shinobi Village. Haruki frowned slightly, and the chakra consumed had already reached the total amount of chakra in a Chunin. It seems that the Kurama flight he envisioned can only be carried by Chunin. As for Genin and ordinary residents, let's take the Sky Fortress. Although it is a bit slower, it is safer. After Kurama landed, he was excited. It's hard to come out once. And there are more opportunities in the future, and the future is simply bright. Until Haruki told it about the flight. Old man, Nine Tails, how can so many people ride on my back? Kurama's eyes widened. It's fine for Haruki, it can't beat it. But the others. Damn it. The old man is not a bus. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 224. Kurama, One-Tail Shozuru can use ninjutsu, so should you. After returning to Konoha, Haruki looked at Kurama, who was sluggish from the flight, and asked. Why are you asking this? Kurama stopped the originally affirmative answer and looked alert. It has been deceived by Haruki too many times and no longer believes in him. It's okay to say so. Haruki's eyes shimmered when he saw its reaction. It stands to reason that as long as you have chakra, you can release ninjutsu. Tailed beasts, as a collection of chakra, are naturally okay. The reason why ninjutsu is not needed is because their tailed beast bomb is comparable to the most powerful ninjutsu. There is no need to leave everything behind. Besides, most of the tail beasts are relatively wild. It's hard to calm down and learn ninjutsu. Among the nine-tailed beasts, only the guarding crane can be used. This is Shadow Clone technique. Haruki took out a scroll. Shadow Clone. Kurama was dumbfounded, then a little angry. What does it mean? Not even letting go of his clone. It's utterly conscience. The old man is not at odds with you, the old thief, Haruki. If you can't learn it, I will cut you into 9 parts. You look down on the old man. How could it be impossible to learn Shadow Clone technique? Kurama seemed to be frustrated by Haruki's look down, and said angrily. Haruki was ashamed. He rubbed the little fox's head and said, as expected of Nine Tails, there will be more things to you in the future. Kurama froze in place. NS. That's not what the old man meant. It looked at Haruki's smile, and its heart was bleeding. By the way, Gyuki has nothing to do here anyway, you can call it together, and the 2 tail beasts also have a companion. Haruki looked at 8 Tails who was playing the game, and suggested. Kurama suddenly showed a fierce expression. Yes, there is also Gyuki. Since the old man is having a hard time, you can't be so leisurely anymore. Then the Konoha International flight will be officially opened from today. Haruki clapped his hands, which was a final decision. Funded by Konoha and led by the Ministry of Transportation, the airline was established. As for the person in charge, Haruki thought for a while, and handed it to Jinchuriki, Kushina and Wooden Golem. After all, young Nine Tails and Erway can't be wasted either. Akihabara. Sakura is blooming, with various festive elements all over the street. The wedding of Hyuga Hiyashi, the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, is naturally not too shabby. Himself Hyuga Shuin is also the person in charge of Jin Yuliang. After Haruki and Tsunade got engaged, Jinyu Liangyuan became Konoha's most popular jewelry store and wedding MC shop. A whole set of processes go down. It is beautiful and grand. Haruki had promised Hyuga Hiyashi before, and he would naturally be there. With him as Tsunade. Although the two are not the protagonists, they still steal a lot of limelight. Master Hokage, Master Haruki, thank you both for coming. Hyuga Hiyashi blushed. A major event in life is about to be completed. And the Hyuga clan is thriving. It can be said that the future is bright. He was quite contented at this moment. Congratulations. Haruki has nothing to say. It is impossible for Hyuga Hiyashi to hold him to talk about the family, but he has a lot of chats with Minato. He couldn't wait to ask. Minato, how are you thinking about the proposal I mentioned earlier? Minato looked at Kushina. Kushina smiled and said generously, yes. Okay, if that's the case, let's say it. Hyuga Hiyashi left with satisfaction to entertain other guests. Hokage and Jinchuriki can catch up with the future, and their Hyuga clan can be said to be invincible. What are you guys saying? Tsunade couldn't help but feel a little puzzled as he watched them play dumb puzzles. It's a baby boy, Haruki explained. Minato and Kushina will also get married this year, so they agreed that if the future child is a boy and a girl, they can consider a baby. That's it, this one is pretty good, Tsunade said thoughtfully. From the perspective of Konoha village, it is indeed a good thing for the Hyuga clan to get married with outsiders. It means that they are not confined to inter-ethnic marriages. Although it may not be conducive to the birth of Byakugan. The ninja realm really depends on the bloodline. The day after the wedding, Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Kaoru left Konoha. They are going to find a new metropolitan address. Kurama learned the shadow clone technique in a few days. Oh, and Gyuki. In front of Konoha Gate. There was an extremely rare scene. A full 9 behemoths lined up in the clearing. Countless onlookers pointed at the 5 9-tails and the 4 8-tails, very excited. No one thought that Haruki-sama would develop such a use of the tail beast. But as long as you pay a certain fee to buy a plane ticket, you can take the tail beast to and fro in the land of thunder. Such a thing is really great. The original noble tail beast could be used as a mount. Haruki originally thought that most of them would not dare to take such a flight on the first day. But it's full. 9 tail beasts, a total of more than 700 people. It seems to be a sense of curiosity and excitement. Haruki couldn't help but smile as they flushed on the back of the tail beast one by one. Who can refuse a mount like 9 tails? Only Kurama and Gyuki looked bad. If it weren't for the sunny tree in front of them, they would only want a tailed beast bomb to smash down these damn it guys. After half an hour, all the passengers arrived. As the person in charge, Kushina explained the precautions. Due to the high speed of the flight, the output of chakra must be maintained at all times. Of course they also have safety measures, such as seat belts. After Kushina finished speaking, she dropped the tail beast, reached the ground, and raised the flag. The young 9 tails on her shoulder said loudly, "Take off." Gyuki and Kurama immediately cursed the traitor in their hearts. But the body was very honest and flew directly into the air. Haruki watched the 9 behemoths leave. After using shadow clone technique, the strength of 8 tails and 9 tails has declined, the speed has been slower, but it is still fast. It provides great convenience for them to manage the country of Sha. And the taming of 8 tails Gyuki must have shocked Cloud Shinobi village. Because in their imagination, 8 tails should be suppressed by Konoha, and even sealed in Jinchuriki's body, living a miserable life without seeing the sun. Well, everyone go back first. Haruki turned around, looked at the crowd of people eating melons, and laughed. Konoha Tailed Beast International flights have 4 flights a day. You can book tickets through the official website and go to all the key towns in Shajiguo. At the same time, I hope that everyone will respond to the call of the Ministry of Commerce and go to the Land of Thunder to do business. With this kind of transportation, I hope everyone will no longer worry about the long distance. The reason why he opened flights, including the Sky Fortress behind, was precisely because he promoted the economy of Shajiguo. The current Konoha has actually approached saturation. But most people are reluctant to leave too far. With convenient transportation, this problem can be solved. Countless facts have proved that the role of transportation in the economy. What Haruki has to do is to get rich first and get rich later. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 225 New Monetary System. After Hyuga Hiyashi's wedding and Konoha heir are completed, Konoha does not need Haruki to worry about for the time being. He plans to go to Sunagakur to congratulate Luasha, a gold miner, on becoming the 4th Kazekage. But before leaving, he suddenly thought of one thing. Department of Commerce Building. With the development of Konoha, various departments are no longer concentrated in the Hokage building. Because there are too many people, Oshima Yoshiyuki is sent by Haruki to the Rain Country to help Akatsuki rebuild the business system. At this time, Nara Kunfu is in charge of the Commerce Department. A middle-aged man about 40 years old. Inherited the natural high IQ of the Nara clan. The ability is very good. Master Haruki. Nara Kunfu saw Haruki outside the door and immediately got up. Don't be polite. Haruki waved his hand, and said, I have come to have one thing for you to handle. Please say. Nara Kunfu asked respectfully. I want to build a new currency system. Haruki said directly. The new monetary system. Rao was based on Nara Kunfu's IQ, and he didn't understand Haruki's meaning for the first time. He later questioned. Master Haruki, the current currency system has been implemented in ninja for thousands of years, and it is common in various countries. If we change rashly, will there be problems? Let me ask you, where is the richest chamber of commerce or company in the entire ninja world? Nature is in Konoha. Nara Kunfu answered without hesitation. It's not that there are no big chambers of commerce in other places, but it is nothing compared to the innovative and competitive Konoha Chamber of Commerce. Whether it's a good match for gold or jade, online shopping, or games, food, banks, etc., Konoha's Chamber of Commerce can be called a giant. Now we have to add Cloud Shinobi Village and Thunder Country. Monopolize the two countries where the ninja world itself has the best environment. If there is a so-called Ninja Chamber of Commerce ranking, the top 10 can be said to be all from Konoha. If we are dominant in the economy, we will naturally have a huge reputation guarantee. It is naturally possible to issue new currencies. Well, it does make sense. Nara Bangfu thought for a moment, nodded, and then asked again, but I don't understand why a new currency system is to be created. Is it the original problem? The original is no problem. Haruki smiled. If it has been popular in the ninja world for so long, there will be no loopholes. But what he wants is the right of coinage and a currency system that he can control. Think about it. If a new currency is implemented in Natsuno country, people from other countries and Shinobu village enter our country and must exchange our currency to conduct transactions. What will eventually become? Nara Bangfu was silent for a moment. What did it evolve into? Use the new currency in Shajiguo, then change to the old currency after leaving. Isn't it superfluous? No, it's not right. A currency used by a country that occupies more than half of the entire ninja economy. Over time it will become the most valuable currency. Even in turn, countries outside of Natsuno Kuni and Shinobu village use the new currency. In the long run, they can use currency to occupy a country's economy. This is really, after Nara understood it, he couldn't speak for a long time. A genius-like strategy. Currency war. He flashed these words suddenly. It seems you already understand something. Seeing his expression, Haruki couldn't help but sigh that he was worthy of the clever Nara clan. Talking is easy. This matter is left to you to design a new currency to replace the old currency. Haruki recalled some policies in his previous life and said, you have to strictly calculate the purchasing power of the two, and recycle the old currency at a similar rate. The time is limited for half a year. After that, the old currency is prohibited from being manufactured and circulated in the country of Sha. Guaranteed to complete the task. Nara Bunfu's face was a little bit uncontrollable with excitement. He is about to become a member of history. The new currency system will inevitably make Shajiguo stronger. He immediately thought of a question. Master Haruki, how should the new currency be called? Haruki thought for a while, and said, it turned out to be two, but the new one is called yuan. Yuan. Okay. Although Narakuno doesn't understand the definition of yuan, Haruki said that it is natural that there is no need to go into it. One more thing. The corner of Haruki's mouth curled up. Sakumo is talking about doing business with the land of the country. I hope to use the new currency for settlement, you know what I mean. Clear. Nara Kunfu's eyes lit up. This is about a currency war with the land of the country. Haruki chatted with him a few more words. Information about currency materials, anti-counterfeiting, denominations, etc. Half an hour later, Haruki left the Ministry of Commerce and did not go to other places. He directly used the Flying Thunder God technique to come to the Fengiying building of Tsunade. He knocked on the door of the office. When Luo Sha heard the sound, she immediately raised her head and saw Haruki. Her heart jumped. Although there were some surprises, he quickly got up to greet him. Master Haruki, please sit down. Logically, Luosha is now Fengiying, with a higher status than Haruki. But he dared not show off at all. Fengiying is just a name, it doesn't mean that he has become Fengiying, and he has the confidence to fight Haruki. I was in a hurry and didn't prepare anything. This crystal sculpture can be regarded as a gift from me to you and Hara. Thanks. Luo Sha catches the crystal sculpture, on which are two exquisite figures. It was him and Zhirong Luo. On the base are engraved with words such as 100 years of good harmony. Generally speaking, it's not an expensive thing, but it's made by Haruki, and it has a different meaning. At least tell others that this is a gift from the god of the ninja world, which is more face-saving. I heard that a mysterious organization attacked Tsunade earlier, and many people were injured. How is the situation? Do you need my help? Luo Sha put away the crystal sculpture and glanced at him after hearing the words. Does it really have nothing to do with him? He thought for a while and said, there is nothing serious about it. Although our Tsunade medical ninja is not as good as yours, as long as it is not too serious, it can be cured. That's fine. Haruki was puzzled and asked, Sasori's puppet was made by Konoha. I know its power well. There are not many ninjas that can tie it with it. You didn't mention it in the information. I want to ask. What is the reason? Luo Sha looked at his expression and said in a deep voice, he is from the Uchiha clan, with Sharingan and powerful space-time ninjutsu. This is impossible, Haruki said without hesitation. The Uchiha clan I know does not know space and time ninjutsu, and it can be compared with Sasori puppets, probably S-rank ninjutsu. But you know, Konoha only has flying thunder. God technique. Luo Sha's face suddenly condensed. That day the mysterious ninja used flying thunder god technique was far different. But Sharingan is only available to the Yu Uchiba clan. It might be possible. Haruki shook his head and said, the Uchiha clan has participated in various battles, and there are not a few missing eyes. Maybe there is Sharingan transplanted by other ninjas. Luo Sha was silent for a moment, and said, there is indeed such a possibility. Except for this Sharingan ninja, his teammates, you have already identified the Black Ho Reitooth and Hoshigaki Kisame. Have you investigated? Have. Luo Sha nodded and said, but Kurigakure announced that the two of them are rebellious. Oh, there is one more knot to be cut. The information we found is not useful. At the end, he sighed. I really don't know where the mysterious organization came from, but their purpose is actually the tail beast. This is indeed a very serious problem. Haruki's tone became serious. I came here to establish a new alliance with you. Konoha village and Tsunade watch each other. If the mysterious organization attacks again, it will be deemed as a declaration of war on our two ninja villages. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 226 Dragon Vein. With Haruki's overly realistic acting skills, Luo Sha believed his rhetoric. The main reason is that there is no way to believe it. He couldn't be taken for interrogation. If he does this, he should be interrogated at that time, not Haruki. To be reasonable is to be reasonable only when one's own strength is superior or not much different. The gap is too big. It only depends on the mood of others. And Haruki obviously hasn't been so bad yet. Luo Sha carefully scanned the new covenant and solemnly signed her name. So the relationship between Konoha village and Tsunade goes further. After losing the tail beast, Tsunade has no problem dealing with ordinary forces. But if there is another attack like Obito, they can only rely on Konoha village. In fact, in the original work, Gaara was sucked away from the tail beast, and Tsunade was holding Konoha village's thighs, and his life was still very moist. It's just that Luasha is not Gaara, he has greater ambitions and doesn't fully trust Konoha village, so I feel worried. Haruki put away the contract that belonged to Konoha, smiled and said, Rosa, I heard that there used to be an ancient Lulan country in the Kingdom of Wind, do you know? Luo Sha's hand holding the scroll trembled slightly. What happened? Did the news leak out? He naturally knows the ancient country of Lulan. After all, it is located in the land of the wind. And it's much more than that. There is a dragon vein hidden under the ancient country of Lulan. It is a collection of huge chakras. They Tsunade had been eyeing it a long time ago. Although the seal cannot be unlocked, it is already regarded as something in the bag. Especially after losing one tail Shuhei, the dragon vein becomes even more important. A dragon vein with a chakra comparable to the tail beast can be used as a tail beast. I have also heard of the ancient country of Lulan. Luo Sha frowned slightly, pretending to think an answer. If you don't know, it's too false. But it has been destroyed, and the ruins are submerged in the vast desert. No one knows where it is. Luo Sha was puzzled at the right time. I don't know if Master Haruki asked about this, what is the reason? Haruki couldn't help but smile. After becoming Fengying, Luo Sha's acting skills have improved a lot. If you don't pay attention, you can't detect it at all. But it is impossible to hide it from him. There is no reason. I was bored with the information I saw a few days ago, so I just asked casually. I see. Luo Sha breathed a sigh of relief, but still didn't believe what he said. Haruki glanced at him and asked, the Kun Master system I told you earlier, how are you thinking about it? I plan to do what the adults say. Luo Sha seemed to have made up her mind long ago without hesitation. It was mainly because of the sudden righteousness of the daimyo of the country of the wind some time ago, which made him understand what misfortune came out of his mouth. Fortunately, it is Tsunade and Haruki. I am afraid their life will be very sad if they change to Hokage. After you complete the system reform, the economic exchanges with Konoha can be closer. This is natural, Luo Sha said with a smile. Originally, only Tsunade's resources could make so much money. Now that you have the entire country of wind, isn't it just lying down and making money? More importantly, he no longer needs Fengying to be a gold miner. Haruki ended the chat with Luo Sha, leaving Fengying's office. After his back disappeared from sight, Luo Sha immediately called Anbu and asked him to inform the ninja who was monitoring Lulan's line to be careful. If you meet Haruki, give up resistance. Can't really let them die. This kind of meaningless sacrifice should be avoided as much as possible. The only thing Rosha can do now is pray. Pray that what Haruki said is true. He was just boring to ask casually, not on the idea of Longmei. Haruki came to Chiyo's home by car. It seems that I came at the right time. He opened the door and saw Chiyo's family of 4 eating. In addition to Chiyo and Sasori, there are also Sasori's parents. It was Orochimaru who extracted the cloned body created by his parents' genes, and then cooperated with Impure World reincarnation to bring them back to life. In a sense, it is the original parent. Haruki. Chio was not very friendly when he saw his expression. After all, he had fought with him in the last war, and fought poison. The most uncomfortable is that she lost all the games. Of course she always thought it was not that she was worse than Haruki. But at that time, Haruki and Tsunade were fighting together, and she was no opponent at all. If it is one-on-one, she feels that she still has such a chance to win. Sasori and his parents have a different attitude. Very respectful. No need to salute. Haruki waved his hand and sat down at the dinner table. Do you mind if I am left alone? Of course I don't mind. Sasori shook his head quickly, got up and took a pair of tableware and handed it to Haruki. Thanks. Haruki is also welcome. As a senior at Sunagaku, the dishes on the dinner table are naturally more than 4 people. One more person will not be enough to eat. A meal is spent in small talk. The one who asked the most was Chio. Like Luo Sha, she suspects that the mysterious ninja who attacked them was from the Uchiha clan. Although Haruki gave an explanation, she didn't believe her completely. But looking at Sasori's face, and when she couldn't beat her, she didn't ask any more questions. After eating, Haruki walked on the street. The other Sunagaku ninjas are not too familiar, and there is no need to drop by. Moment. His figure disappeared. Appeared outside the village. Not far from him is an Anbu wearing a mask. The clear tree followed all the way to the ruins of an ancient city in the desert. If no one is a guide, no one will find this place. The ancient country of Lulan. It should be called Lulan City more reasonable. Anbu did not stop. Haruki guessed that he was looking for the descendants of the ancient country of Lulan. Queen Lulan was mentioned in the original work. But he has no interest. Perceiving diffusion, and quickly perceiving the familiar breath. Seal of the Uzumaki clan. Haruki appeared in front of the seal. This is a composite seal. After all, the dragon veins are not small in size. Minato should have been sealed according to the method of dealing with the tail beast. Haruki quickly recognized a lot of sealing techniques. Such as the seal of the 4 elephants. He touched his chin, the dragon veins had the ability to travel through time and space. Thinking for a moment, he did not intend to use this ability. Unable to judge the risks brought by traveling through time and space. Besides, he does not need to go back to the past or the future. Haruki wanted Dragon Maiden because he wanted to get a charger. He nodded his hands. He will not crack the seal of the Uzumaki clan. But it has an upper limit. Massive chakras turned into Uzumaki iron cones and attacked the seal technique. The ground around him vibrated suddenly. The wind howled. Haruki felt the chakra of the dragon veins and leaked out. Crushed stones and dust flew up. Such a big movement naturally attracted Sunagaku's attention. Just after Anbu arrived, something like this happened. They all showed ugly expressions. At the same time, I prepared for the worst in my heart. 18 ninjas shuttled through the sandstorm. Soon I saw Haruki. The leader Anbu said without hesitation, "Withdraw." Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 227 Brokan Uchiha Itachi. Haruki glanced at the Sunagaku ninjas who hurriedly left. Fairly self-knowledge. So consciously, he naturally didn't need to kill them. In front of him, the seal was completely untied, revealing a translucent dragon shape. But unlike the tail beast, it has no mind, only instinct. The moment he appeared on the ground, he began to run wild. With it as the center, the sky full of chakra, shocked countless sand and dust. Haruki has experience dealing with tail beasts, or large animals. Although it is impossible to communicate, it is very simple to catch it. A seed landed. The same dragon immediately appeared in the desert. Wood dragon. Instantly entangle the dragon veins. The crazy guy can no longer move. Haruki observed the dragon veins. In addition to chakra, there is natural energy. He was suddenly surprised. The dragon veins are similar to the sacred tree, which can transform chakra with natural energy. If this is the case, he almost gets an infinite energy station. Haruki immediately had an idea. He intends to bury the dragon veins under the new metropolis of Shajiguo, relying on it as the core to establish a protective enchantment. Of course, besides enchantment, there are other things. Such as airship. He can use the dragon veins of infinite energy to create a sci-fi city. Thinking of this, Haruki felt a little excited. His favorite in his previous life was the big scenes in science fiction movies. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult to establish such a city. But the omnipotent chakra can make them a reality. Haruki sent the dragon veins back to Konoha. After thinking about it, temporarily put it in Kurama's ecological base. There are no people or beasts on the beautiful riverside at this time. Haruki finally remembered that they should act as planes in the sky. Did not disturb Kurama's due diligence work. He found an open space and sealed the dragon veins again. It is not the seal technique of the Uzumaki clan, but Konoha's. It is difficult to be effective. But the quality is not good, it depends on the quantity. As long as there is enough chakra, the effect of the seal can be achieved. After Tsunagaku's affairs are over, Haruki can finally be a salted fish with peace of mind. Return to the old business. Konoha Shinobi is the teacher of the first university. However, several of his students are not in class much anymore. Needless to say, Minato, Makoto and Kushina already graduated. Each has its own business and is even busier than him. Obito went to Akatsuki's organization. Although Kakashi and Lin entered the university and belonged to current students, after becoming Chunin, they focused more on their tasks. Consider one less person. Haruki arranged Guy and made him a teammate of the two. Kakashi was very happy, gritted his teeth and thanked him. I am really a good teacher. With Guy's encouragement, Kakashi will improve quickly. It is worth mentioning that Makoto replaced Might Dai and defeated the Ninja 7. Might Dai is not dead and has more time to guide Guy. Guy's strength is therefore higher than the original at the same time. Of course, without using the last 2 of the 8 inner gates, Kakashi is still better. Without the drag of Sharingan, and getting the second day first rate in Juhei Zanjun biography, Kakashi's can be regarded as a veritable successor to Konoha's White Fang. By the time he was in his 20s and 30s, his physical function reached its peak, and it would be no problem to surpass his father. The remaining apprentice, or student, is Uchiha Shisui. Although he passed the Chunin exam, he was young after all. It belongs to the stage of learning knowledge. And he himself is very easy to learn. Haruki was worried that he would go astray like the original, so he paid more attention to his life in school. The results obtained are very satisfactory. Shisui's results are beyond imagination. Especially in the Will of Fire theory class formed around Tsunade. Has a very unique insight. In the words of the previous life, the ideological and political class got full marks. This is a very rare achievement. Haruki thought of Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Shiro again. The two of them are 2 years younger than Shisui. Maybe it can be transferred to a class. Haruki thinks this idea is good. He turned around and went to the residence of the Uchiha clan. As Makoto away, Haruki raised an eyebrow. He remembered that Makoto got the position of Hokage's assistant after defeating the Ninja 7. This is Tsunade's suggestion. Because she feels that Haruki always runs out, loves to go fishing at work, and can't even take her to work. From time to time, you have to change into wet clothes during the day. And Makoto is strong and serious. Serving as Hokage's assistant is not a problem. Now Konoha's power structure. Individually, Tsunade is the largest. Has the titles of Hokage, leader of the Sha organization, commander of the Ninja Coalition, and emperor. And under her, are the members of the executive department. Basically Hokage assistant, Hokage secretary, ministers of various departments, generals of the army, and powerful and well-known ninjas. In fact, the executive department also has personnel responsible for overall planning. That is Hokage's assistants. Of course, it does not mean that he is higher than the other members. Haruki was originally alone. Later, at the commendation ceremony, Tsunade added Makoto and Hitaki Tsukumo. This is why Haruki can run around. He came to Makoto's house. Uchiha Itachi and Bai are competing. Bai is clearly at a disadvantage. Although he has ice escape, his foundation is too poor. And Uchiha Itachi, under the polishing of Makoto, said that the strongest peers are not too much. After all, it's a history of blood and tears. Haruki looked at it and wondered if Uchiha Itachi was her own son. That is, he persisted. For someone with poor talent and average mentality, he would have broken down long ago, and maybe have to sever the relationship between mother and child. But his bitter days have passed. After Makoto figured it out, he was not so harsh. But Uchiha Itachi has become accustomed to this kind of high-intensity training, and Shisui is a role model, but he can't stop himself. Very consciously, persist as always. The test is over. As the only audience, Haruki did not hesitate to give applause. Only age and chakra restrict them. Otherwise, you can defeat a normal genin casually. Master Haruki. Uchiha Itachi immediately patted the ice on his body and bowed slightly to Haruki. Seeing the situation behind him, Bai did the same, shouting suddenly, Master Chingshu. Compared to Uchiha Itachi's maturity, Bai is obviously more like a child. Be cautious. Haruki walked up to him, rubbed his head, and said, Why didn't you go to school today? Uchiha Itachi has already enrolled in school not long ago. He explained. My mother has something to go out. I took a day off and stayed with Bai at home. Haruki raised an eyebrow. Appeared. Brokon property of Uchiha Itachi. No, it may be the Brokon attribute of the Uchiha clan to be precise. It started with Uchiha Madara. I just don't know if there will be a race for favor after Sasuke is born. Family Shura Field. Haruki glanced blankly. Sasuke is handsome and Bai is handsome. What kind of brother does Uchiha Itachi like? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 228 3rd Grade Class A. Haruki explained to Uchiha Itachi Kazuhiro why he came. Let Bai go to school and share a class with Uchiha Shisui. The two naturally have no opinion. On the contrary, I am very happy. Haruki left a message to Uchiha Makoto. Lest she came back thinking that the two children were abducted. Because Bai did not enroll. Haruki first took nothing to go through the procedures, and then asked someone to transfer the two of them to Shisui's class. Class A in the 3rd grade. This is the result of Shisui's jump. According to his age, he should have just enrolled in the 1st grade. But his grades are excellent. As long as you pass the normal grade final exams, you can jump into the upper grades in advance. Haruki is not worried that Uchiha Itachi and Shiro will not be able to keep up with the course because of skipping grades. Both are geniuses. Shisui can also help. As the school had been notified in advance, there was no teacher in Class A of the 3rd grade at this time. Facing the teacher's lateness, the students below were a little bit ready to move. Don't understand what happened. Fortunately, Class A is a genius class, a bit similar to the rocket class or fast class in the previous life. If the quality of theoretical study can be compensated by hard work, it is difficult for ninjas, relying on blood and talent. The limit of effort is Guy. But Guy has such a great achievement thanks to 8 inner gates. And at 8 inner gates, not everyone can practice to this level. After Haruki opened the door and came in, the classroom suddenly became quiet. Everyone, look at me and I look at you. At the same time, an idea emerged in my mind. I got a illusion. Haruna teacher became Haruki. Or did Mr. Haruna use the transformation technique? They couldn't believe that Haruki would teach them a lesson. You must know that Haruki is no longer the simple medical ninja in the past, but the god of the ninja world. The existence of a person to turn the tide of war. Haruki stepped onto the podium, nodded to Shisui in the front row, and smiled. Hello everyone, my name is Haruki, and I will give you lessons if your teacher Haruna takes a leave of absence for a period of time. After a moment of silence, the classroom was full of joy. Haruna-sensei, who was forced to take a vacation, would probably vomit blood when seeing this scene. Obviously I came first, why is it not welcome? Haruki twitched at the corner of his mouth. To be honest, because he has always been liked, he has long been accustomed to the nicknames of some avid fans. But suddenly there was a saying, God has come. He is still a little bit unable to withstand it. It's so second. Haruki knocked on the podium, the voice overwhelmed the noisy, and the classroom became quiet again. Well, we are going to class. He introduced seriously, at the same time, welcome 2 new students, Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Bai. 2 Uchiha, with their surnames alone, Itachi and Bai got the curious eyes of the class. Many male students can't help but feel a little moved when they see Bai. Especially when Bai was embarrassed to hide behind Itachi, that kind of cuteness. But they are basically kind eyes. It is a far cry from 7 years ago. Facts have proved the importance of public opinion guidance. Of course, the change of the Uchiha clan itself is also a very important reason. And there is a Uchiha Shisui in their class. Currently the first genius in elementary school. If considering his age, it is okay to regard him as the strongest genius of the entire Konoha Shinobi University. So simply introduce yourself. Haruki stepped aside from the podium and started the routine entrance ceremony. Hello everyone, my name is Uchiha Itachi, my hobby is to play League of Legends, my life hero is Yasuo, and my dream is to catch up with Shisui and become Hokage. Uchiha Itachi does not have any stage fright. But his introduction has aroused discussion among many people. Even those who watched the excitement turned their attention to Uchiha Shisui. To their disappointment, Shisui didn't say anything, on the contrary, he seemed to be smiling. Worthy of being the strongest genius, full of self-confidence and calmness. As for the League of Legends, who doesn't like it? No surprises. Becoming a Hokage, well, this dream is also a bad street. Their look of anticipation quickly fell on Bai's body. The cute girl is more attractive than Uchiha Itachi. I'm Uchiha Shiro, I'm the younger brother of Itachi. If I like to train with my brother, and dream of becoming a strong mother like a mother. Bai looked a little nervous and spoke intermittently. But the students below didn't care at all. 2 words convoluted in the mind. Younger brother. I didn't even listen to the following words. Haruki resisted the urge to laugh so as not to destroy his personal settings. He knew that such a thing would happen. Fortunately, Bai encountered it many times and explained it directly in the first sentence. If you don't explain, some people are afraid that they will be bent and doubt their own orientation. A word has saved a lot of innocent teenagers, and the merits are boundless. Haruki patted Shiro's head and asked him to return to his seat. Everyone turned the book to page 23. Although he didn't go to class after a while, he didn't have any strangeness. The courses are still theoretical courses. After a class, Haruki put down the textbook and rested for 10 minutes. Yahiko. He looked at Yahiko who was eavesdropping outside the door. About 10 minutes ago, he noticed Yahiko. Teacher Haruki. After Yahiko bowed slightly and greeted him, he explained, I was in school these few days, and just passing by, I heard the teacher lecture, so I stopped. How do you feel? Want to travel back to the past? Yahiko sighed earnestly and said, it was my loss not to come to Konoha to go to school. If I promised the teacher, I might find a way to achieve peace sooner. It seems you have gained a lot. Haruki smiled upon hearing the words. Unlike Uchiha Madara, Yahiko is younger, has an active mind, and has not yet formed unusually strong values. just like college students, is the most important time period. If guided by the wrong direction, it is easy to go astray. For example, Nagato and Obito in the original work were bewitched by Uchiha Madara. But the current Yahiko, who has not been exposed to Uchiha Madara, has not yet become miserable. At the school, I saw a complete system of will to fire that combines theory and practice. Naturally, he recognized his own shortcomings and opened up a new world. Where is Nagato? Haruki asked again. He couldn't predict what Yahiko would become in the end. But at least it won't be as unlucky as the original. Nagato is in the executive department and is familiar with the operation of Konoha's department. I see. Haruki groaned and said, just looking at it is not very useful. You and Nagato might as well go to the street processing department for an internship for a while. Yahiko's eyes lit up, and he nodded quickly and said, thank you, teacher. The class bell rang. Haruki returned to the podium. While he was chatting with Yahiko, Shisui went to Uchiha Itachi and Shiro. Only then did the other people realize that they had met each other and that they had a good relationship. At the same time, the identity of Uchiha Itachi was also exposed. The son of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan. Many people suddenly felt a sense of crisis. I am afraid that I will have to drop one place in the school's ranking. But where did Bai come from? Most of the students who can be in Class A come from several big families of Konoha. They had never heard of Master Makoto having a second son. Could it be Fugaku-sama? Hey, it seems that something incredible has been discovered. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 229. When Haruki felt the joy of teaching and educating people, Obito was very busy. Either on the way to recruiting members, or on the way to do task delegation. In the past 2 months, Obito felt that he was more diligent than he had been in Konoha for more than 10 years. The completed tasks are enough to be promoted to Jonin. With his efforts, Akatsuki organizes the elite group, and currently there are 10 groups with 20 people. All are the rebellious ninjas from various ninja villages. However, due to the dangerous nature of the mission, their members wear out quickly. 8 members died in 2 months. Well, 3 others were backstabbed by teammates. The reason is that it is hindered and uncomfortable. Obito's performance was very painful and fully demonstrated his care as a team leader. But there are only 6 words in my heart. Fight up and fight up. Anyway, they are all evil doing rebellious forbearance. It doesn't hurt at all to die. Think of it as purifying the world of ninja and fighting for a better tomorrow. Obito deeply felt a different kind of happiness. Of course the point is that his own merits will be further increased. Every time a betrayer dies, his credit is even stronger. I don't know what reward Haruki teacher will give himself in the end. It is best to be the boss of Kakashi. Put him under him severely. Think about it and feel refreshed. As a result, Obito's miss for Rin Nohara has been reduced a lot. Absolutely, what do you think? Uchiha Madara stared at Obito in the distance. Judging from his recent performance, he has worked very hard. As Obito's teammate, he is almost inseparable from him. He was only an intelligence officer on the face, so Obito was fighting, and he was watching. So for Obito, I have a deeper understanding. Uchiha Madara is noncommittal. He was thinking about the possibility of Obito deceiving himself. But can he really do this with his character in mind? I always think it's impossible. Obito can see through his own design, and will reverse undercover. Uchiha Madara didn't believe it in his heart, but he still felt that he should test it last. If there is no problem, he can pass away. By his will, Black Zetsu continues his plan. Otherwise, it would still be uncomfortable to hang one's life. Old age is weak, not too vigorous exercise, staying in the dark underground all day, it is really uncomfortable. Has his Uchiha Madara ever been so wronged? He who swept the ninja world in the past, it was his wish to return long ago. Absolutely, although Obito did his duty during this time, Konoha was not involved. Uchiha Madara said coldly, let Obito kill Kakashi. Oh, Ju immediately laughed, it's interesting. He patted the ground, and a white Zetsu clone disappeared. Time flies. Ju took a scroll that was handed out from the ground, got up and came to Obito's face, and said, fly, there is a living, a ninja with a reward of 50 million. Who is it? Obito opened the scroll, glanced around, didn't recognize it. But 50 million is indeed a high reward. He has always believed in absolute intelligence. Let's go. Obito puts away the scroll. In accordance with Akatsuki's rules for organizing the elite group, White Zetsu cloned himself to collect information and task assignments, and then divided them into 10 groups. Now that none of the other 9 teams came back, the task fell on him. The target of the reward is called Takeo, the ninja of Kawa no Kuni. According to the description, he put a hat on the daimyo of Kawa no Kuni. The green kind. Daming is tolerable or unbearable. So he offered him a reward of 50 million taels. One is that Takeo has good strength and belongs to the elite of Jonin. The second is that he seems to have a special ninjutsu, with superb ability to escape. It is difficult for ordinary people to catch him. But for Obito Kazu, it's nothing at all. Under Mangekyo Sharingan, there is nothing to hide. The southeast border of the country of grass. Obito stands on the trunk of a tree. And absolutely merged with the tree completely, revealing only one head. They're here, there are 13 people in total, and Takeo is hiding in them. Juju reported his information, paused, and smiled. There is another surprise, you should be interested. What? Obito hasn't noticed his anomaly so far, because it's no different from usual. This caravan hired Konoha's ninja as an escort. Staring at Obito's Uzumaki mask, he said gloomily, I don't think you can feel relieved, right? Naturally not. Obito's voice was flat, and he couldn't hear any emotional changes. I am no longer Konoha's ninja. To me, every ninja village is the same. That's good. Ju gave a smile. I'm looking forward to your fight with old teammate Kakashi. Obito's heart tightened. Kakashi. How could it be Kakashi? Why is it such a coincidence? There is only one answer. This is Uchiha Madara's final test for him. Obito snorted coldly and said, it just so happened that I was unhappy with him before, and kept pressing me over. Now I have Mangekyo Sharingan and meet again. Without Haruki's hindrance, let us really compete. Quote. Ju Wenyan glanced at him unexpectedly. The two eyes exposed by the mask, the black blade is spinning, cold and bitter. Mangekyo Sharingan. Ju's brows furrowed slightly, but he immediately laughed again. There is no flaw in what Obito said, but what about fighting Kakashi? Will it really be what he said? So, I will wait and see. Said with great interest. As you wish. Obito jumped straight off the tree trunk. Who? Kakashi, who was guarding the caravan, immediately noticed the movement and looked at the strangely dressed ninja. Where is Takeo? Obito stared at a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan and swept everyone in the convoy. But apart from Kakashi, there are no other ninjas. He knew at this time that the so-called Takeo should never be faked. Their real purpose is to trick themselves into killing Kakashi. What Wu Nan? Kakashi looked into his eyes. Very familiar. It's almost exactly the same as Makoto's eyes. He has guessed who it is. Are you a member of the mysterious organization that has recently risen to fame? In the past 2 months, the members of the elite group of Akatsuki have been very active. Killed many well-known ninjas. Fame has gradually spread. However, because Akatsuki's name was not revealed, Kakashi referred to it as a mysterious organization. Obito did not deny it. He threw the scroll to Kakashi, pointing to his eyes. Except for you, there is no other Jonin, so you are Takeo. In order to avoid hunting down, you disguised as Konoha's ninja. Obito said sternly, just grab it with your hands, Takeo. The most annoying thing in my life is the stealer. Quote question mark quote. Kakashi looked dumbfounded. Does God steal people? NS. Dog then Obito, take advantage of the opportunity to hack me. Kakashi got angry and took out 2 samurai swords and slashed at Obito. Idiot, let you see the power of my eyes. Obito immediately activated his eyes. Tien Sui Sun Ming and Kamui. His body disappeared. Kakashi couldn't help his eyes widening, it turned out to be space-time ninjutsu. At this moment, he was indeed hit. Since knowing Haruki, he has always hoped to learn Flying Thunder God technique, but he has no talent. Unexpectedly, one day, Obito will have similar ninjutsu. Kakashi held knives in both hands and looked around with caution. Where is Obito? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 230 You are strengthened. The hot breath appeared on the top of the head. Kakashi didn't even look at it. The 2 swords were pushed up in his hands, and the sword energy formed by 2 chakras turned straight forward, just like the essence. He only noticed that Obito's attack was a huge fireball. The remaining water vapor in the air evaporates immediately. There is a sense of dryness. And his 2 swords cut open the fireball and disappeared into the sky. There was no trace of Obito behind the fireball, but it split into 2 and became 2 fireballs that hit Kakashi. Kakashi stepped back calmly, and in an instant, dozens of sword lights appeared in front of him, like a barrier, completely cutting the fireball. He frowned slightly. If it were in the past, he would not use 2 sword moves. The only explanation is that Obito's control and understanding of fire style has been greatly improved. He may really not be able to beat Obito. The moment Kakashi flashed such thoughts, his front suddenly lit up, like a meteor shower from far and near, and countless karma enveloping flames fell from the sky. At the same time, it was accompanied by Obito's voice. It's very big. It resounded hundreds of meters in a radius. Call you to steal someone. Let you steal someone. Burn you to death. Quote question mark quote. Kakashi was about to vomit blood. Why is this guy so cheap? Also at this time, another voice rang in his ears. You have been put on the resurrection armor by me, send it quickly. Kakashi was stunned slightly, and subconsciously raised the double knives. The bright light was like a bright moonlight, completely smashing the sky full of kunai. After the fight, I realized what Obito was saying. Resurrection A is the equipment in the League of Legends. I thought that Haruki told him about the abilities of Obito Mangekyo Sharingan. The extremely clever Kakashi quickly understood the current situation. Obito didn't get the trust of the mysterious ninja. Being his teammate is the best touchstone. Kakashi's mouth suddenly evoked a mocking smile. What steals? We are in love with each other. Where can we tolerate the opposition of monsters like you? You fart. Obito was immediately frustrated. He came out of Kamui, stood in front of Kakashi, and said angrily, she likes me. Go to me to die. A faint cyan light curtain emerged from him. The invisible and huge breath is like a powerful tornado rushing in all directions. Kakashi's smile solidified. He felt an unmatched aura. What is this? Can Obito be so strong? He held the double knives tightly, and the chakra all over his body surged again. But Obito's chakra was even crazier and completely covered his limelight. A cyan giant stood horribly huge, only the upper body is enough to make people look up. It is wearing armor and holding a 40-meter-long Tadachi. Obito is inside it, as small as an ant. Kakashi had a rare panic. But he quickly calmed down. This is the power your eyes give you. Good. Obito laughed openly. All your attacks in front of it are just children's reactions, so go to hell. Following his voice, the samurai behind him raised his sword. The cyan light turned into a meteor, and it came crashing down at a terrifying speed. Kakashi's eyes were shocked. The force that was so strong that it was extremely resistant made his body immediately slam down. The dust is flying. Splashes of blood burst out. Kakashi hit a big hole directly. The fragile body was broken everywhere. See you in the next life, Kakashi. Obito stood in front of him, slashed off, his head rolled off. Ju blinked in the distance, very surprised. Killed like this. He remembered the previous quarrel between the two people, and couldn't help but sigh the power of love. Takeo was fabricated by him. Obito should understand, but he still told Kakashi that you are Takeo. The real purpose is to tell his own story with the help of Takeo. Suddenly realized, humans are really complex creatures. He appeared in front of Obito and bent down to examine Kakashi's body. If it is a clone, it will definitely disappear after death. His eyes flickered slightly, which was indeed the body. As a master of stealth and clones, it is impossible to fool him. I didn't expect you to actually kill him. Ju stood up and smiled faintly. I'm still worried that you won't be able to do it. Obito glanced at him coldly. With the tall Susanoo, it is quite deterrent. Don't question me. Oh, it's my fault. White Zetsu's breath came out, and he kicked Kakashi's body. What should this guy do? Whatever you do. Obito didn't care about anything, and turned to leave. Ju slightly stunned. Is it so ruthless? He looked at Obito's back and smiled after a moment. This is the Obito he and Uchiha Madara want to see. Only pursue the plan, and don't care about the others at all. No matter who it is, as long as he stands in front of him, there is only death. Kakashi was ignored by no means, but he walked a few steps and returned to his place. He thought of Haruki. Under normal circumstances, if the head is chopped off, it will definitely not live. But Haruki was a medical ninja, the kind that reached the ceiling. He was worried that there would be a way to save Kakashi. So he raised his hand, chakra formed into a blade, and directly cut the corpse into pieces. If this can be saved, then I have nothing to say. Must disappear in the same place, leaving only a mess. The caravan escorted by Kakashi had all run away at the beginning of the battle. The silent mountain road has only the sound of wind. I don't know how long it took. The golden light suddenly covered Kakashi's body. The outline of a human figure showed through the golden light. And quickly gradually solidified. Kakashi's appearance slowly emerged. If Haruki is here, you will feel that this scene is too strong. Like the birth of a simulated robot. Ah, Kakashi clutched his head and made a painful voice. His memory is still in the scene of being cut down by Obito with a sword. This guy is so cruel. Kakashi rubbed his forehead vigorously and couldn't help but vomit. Although he was resurrected, he experienced the pain of death for the first time. This is the only one in the ninja world, right? Resurrected from the dead. He doesn't know there is impure world reincarnation now. Otherwise, I wouldn't think so. Putting away his thoughts, Kakashi experienced the changes in his body. The pain disappeared. All the feelings are back again. It's good to be alive. Obito killed himself, so he should be able to gain complete trust. Kakashi went straight back to Konoha. Along the way, he carefully hid his figure without being noticed by anyone. Like Nohara Lin, he needs to disappear for a while. Before that, he had to meet someone, Haruki. Konoha Shinobi is the office of the first university. Kakashi appeared. Immediately he used the enchantment and enveloped the office. Quote. Haruki twitched at the corner of his mouth. What does this mean? Apart from using barriers when fighting with Tsunade, he has never used barriers with a man in the office. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 231 8 Tails Jinchuriki. Kakashi, are you doing something shameful? It's so mysterious. Haruki couldn't help smiling, and asked jokingly. It's Obito's business. Kakashi didn't pay attention to his ridicule, and told the story with a serious face. Haruki raised an eyebrow. No wonder he was so careful. If it is noticed by the White Zetsu clone, all previous efforts will be lost. However, As long as he is there, the white Zetsu clone will generally not appear again. Although there are a lot of white Zetsu clones, there is no need to waste them in vain. You did a good job. Haruki nodded in praise. It is not a simple matter to be able to react and cooperate in such a short period of time to be set up by Uchiha Madara, and absolutely. Although it is because the two of them know each other too much, it ultimately lies in their growth. From the stunned green in the past, to the one-sidedness now. Both have a bright future. As Kakashi said, he must be away for a while. At least until Uchiha Madara returns to heaven. Haruki thought for a while, and said, you will set off immediately to the land of thunder. Kakashi was stunned. Thunder Country. It's not bad. Namikaze Minato is currently in charge of Thunder Country, which is short of manpower. He might have made a lot of credit in the past. Okay, teacher. Kakashi bowed slightly. I will talk to Minato. Haruki is more optimistic about Kakashi. In addition to Flying Thunder God technique, he may be able to take over Minato. Because Hitaki Tsukumo did not commit suicide, Kakashi is not as deep as the original. Although his current personality is cold, he belongs to the normal range of facial paralysis. Teacher, there is one more thing. Kakashi thought of the fight with Obito, with hesitation on his face. He did not use his full strength at the time. It wasn't because of the so-called Resurrection A that he released the water, but he thought that even if he used 2-day first-class tricks, he would not be able to beat Obito. Mangekyo Sharingan is too strong. This genius, who has always overpowered Obito, suddenly turned offensive and defensive, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of gap in his heart. Kakashi began to understand the importance of blood. Just a pair of eyes can surpass his long-term efforts. It's really unfair. Kakashi. Seeing his silence, Haruki couldn't help but knocked on the tabletop, and said, if you have anything you need to say, don't worry about it. Is teacher. Kakashi recovered and said, I want to know what can be done with Mangekyo Sharingan. This question. Haruki understood that Kakashi was stimulated by Obito's performance, or suffered a blow. It is not easy for Mangekyo Sharingan to deal with it. But it's not impossible, such as Sage Body, Sage Mode, Wood Style and the like. How to say, Hokage Ninja is a world of pedigree. The closer to Otsutsuki, the stronger the strength. Kakashi has no special blood. Even thousands of years ago, it might have belonged to the Otsutsuki clan, but now it is nothing unusual. And as ordinary people against the guys who open plugins, only Jinchuriki. Kakashi, blood cannot limit your future, and Mangekyo Sharingan is not invincible. Otherwise, Uchiha Madara will not lose to Senju Hashirama. Haruki comforted him and said. In fact, Kakashi showed great strength in Kakashi's secret. Except for a limited number, it is not inferior to any ninja. You just lack chakra. Haruki smiled and said, I have a way, do you want to seal 8 tails Gyuki in your body? Seal to the body. Kakashi was stunned for a moment, and then reacted. His calm face couldn't help but become excited. Teacher, do you mean to make me 8 tails Jinchuriki? The power of Jinchuriki is well known. As the bottom card of Ninja Village, it far surpasses most ninjas. The ultimate strength that Jinchuriki can show depends on the strength of the tail beast. 8 tails Gyuki is undoubtedly ranked second among the tail beasts. If he becomes 8 tails Jinchuriki, he can stand at the apex of ninja world in an instant. Yes, what do you think? Haruki can understand his excitement. But the tail beast is not omnipotent. He thought for a while, but still didn't tell him about the Mangekyo Sharingan Tenkatail beast. Thank you, teacher. Naturally, Kakashi would not refuse. If it was before, he might hesitate. After all, Jinchuriki's life is terrible, and he may not be able to bear it. But Konoha is completely different now. As 9 tails Jinchuriki, Kushina has no discrimination. One important reason is that the residents of Konoha know that Haruki has the power to suppress the tail beast. 8 tails turned out to be the tail beast of Cloud Shinobi village. It discriminates against Konoha. It is more difficult for you to reach a settlement with him. Haruki can naturally seal 8 tails and even force it to help Kakashi. But it is not voluntary after all. It is difficult to achieve perfection Jinchuriki. Kakashi was silent. Haruki killed the previous 8 tails Jinchuriki killer bee and gave 8 tails to himself. I always feel a sense of forced prostitution. He shook his head quickly and threw the terrible thought out. I will try my best. Kakashi didn't have the confidence, so he could only rely on time to soften the 8 tails. Its character can't always be so rigid. Well, this is a test that every Jinchuriki must go through. Haruki didn't think about this problem anymore. Perfect Jinchuriki has not many. Konoha's current strength does not require Kakashi to reach a consensus with 8 tails. The rest is relatively simple. Haruki took Kakashi to the Kurama ecological base. Oh no, it should be called Konoha Airport now. 8 tails, you don't have to act as a transport plane anymore. After Haruki finished speaking, Kurama didn't want to do it on the spot. What do you mean? Who is the real one? Obviously I am Konoha's native tail beast. Why does 8 tails get preferential treatment? Of course, when it heard the next sentence, its anger suddenly disappeared. Sure enough, I am Konoha's favorite cub. Actually re-selected a Jinchuriki for 8 tails. Although 8 tails couldn't forget Killer Bee, Haruki's pressure made it helpless to get into Kakashi's belly. As Kushina put the seals one by one, Kakashi became a new generation of Eight-Tails Jinchuriki. Kakashi, you just became Jinchuriki, and you don't know much about the use of tail beasts. Haruki glanced at him who was stroking his stomach, always feeling this scene weird. Kushina and you Wooden Golem are both Jinchuriki. They have rich experience about tail beasts. Please stay for a few days and ask them. Okay, teacher. Kakashi raised his head and replied. Although there was a tail beast in his stomach, which made him very uncomfortable, he gained strength. Feel the almost endless chakra. I shouldn't be so embarrassed when I meet Obito again. In short, Kakashi broke away from his identity as the chakra unit of measurement and moved into a whole new world. No longer have to worry about using 2 Reikiri, the body will be too empty. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 232 Indra and Ashura. Kakashi barely reached the first stage of Jinchuriki after a week of study. Tailed beast coat. Among them, thanks to Kurama's mouth, Gyuki reluctantly loaned his chakra. Although there is only a part, it is many times more than before. And the red tail beast coat, in addition to the increase in chakra, is equivalent to giving a continuous buff. Speed, strength, self-healing ability, etc. are all mentioned to improve. Kakashi's strength soared almost overnight. The only pity is that there is no way to beast it. Although he couldn't reach the tail animalization, Kakashi was able to stretch out his tentacles from his body to attack and resist. Eight Tails is shaped like an octopus. As Jinchuriki, it can have a few more hands. And it can connect to feelings. Just like your own arm. Kakashi suddenly had a bold idea. It was Obito's Susanoo who inspired him. Build several 40-meter big knives for Eight Tails. Next time you play against Obito, you won't be so embarrassed. The clear tree appeared at the Kurama ecological base. Saw such a scene. Kakashi sat by the river, closing his eyes. A white tentacle stretched out from his tail vertebra and sank into the river. Quote. A question mark appeared on Haruki's face. It has only been a week, how did your style of painting become like this? We are a cousin. Don't play with tentacles casually. Kakashi, what are you doing? Haruki walked behind him and couldn't help asking. Teacher. Kakashi opened his eyes and said solemnly, I'm fishing. Fishing. Haruki wanted to ask him, are you serious? Fishing with the tail of Eight Tails Gyuki. Well, if I can manipulate Gyuki's tail to approach and catch the fish in the river, I think I will be one step closer to becoming one with the tail beast. Kakashi explained. Quote. Although the fishing he said was different from Haruki's understanding, it wasn't a good way, that's strange. I am asking you and Gyuki to reach a consensus, not to blend together. Haruki always felt something went wrong. Do you know how to practice Jinchuriki now? Basically already understand. Kakashi nodded and said, thanks to senior sister Kushina and you Wooden Golem for their help. Keep working hard in the future, one day you can achieve complete beastization. Haruki encouraged him. Just learn it. As for what it will become in the end, it's not his business. When are you going to the Land of Thunder? Haruki asked again. If I go now, I'll use Flying Thunder God technique to send you off. Or if you want to experience the feeling of flying, just take the Nine Tails flight. Kurama on the side grinned immediately. Kakashi is Eight Tails Jinchuriki. Does carrying him mean carrying Eight Tails? Where do you put the face of the old man, the big brother tail beast? Although it has become a man-tool beast, the old man still has self-respect. At least not to be looked down upon by the younger brother. Kakashi felt a deep malice and resentment. Now he is Eight Tails Jinchuriki, his perception has been greatly improved, and he can clearly perceive the emotions of Nine Tails. Gyuki in the body conveyed resistance. It's not afraid of Nine Tails, but it's just afraid of coming out to meet in the future to avoid being too embarrassed. Just trouble the teacher. Considering the deep friendship between the tail beasts, Kakashi decided to follow the meaning of Eight Tails Gyuki. Teacher, can I bring Wooden Golem when I go to Thunder Country? By Wooden Golem, Haruki heard the words and looked at Kakashi in surprise. Could it be said that this guy is about to get rid of it? In the original work until the blog post, Kakashi was single. Yes, for a week, I only have a basic understanding of Jinchuriki, and I don't know the deeper things, so I hope Wooden Golem will teach me in the past for a while and then come back. To be honest, Haruki shook his head, thinking that I still don't know you. I don't know who I learned this Mandarin from. Kakashi scratched his head awkwardly, and said, sure enough, I can't hide it from the teacher. In fact, Wooden Golem wants to go home and have a look, so please ask me. I see. Although Haruki didn't hear the answer he imagined, the reason was justified. After being caught by Wooden Golem by himself, he never returned to Cloud Shinobi village. This kind of thinking is quite normal. He glanced at Wooden Golem, who was eavesdropping in the distance. She looked nervous and expectant, but noticed the look in his eyes and raised her head with a cold snort. It really matches the cat. You can take her there. Haruki's eyes turned to Kakashi, but she is not Konoha's ninja after all. If you escape, you will have to chase it back, understand? Clear. Kakashi couldn't help smiling. She will definitely not run away. Haruki patted him on the shoulder, and said earnestly, "Your words are just a side word, but if you have the ability to leave her heart and body, she will naturally not run away." Kakashi was startled slightly. As a ninja with only tasks in his head, and having never been in a relationship, he didn't understand the deep meaning of Haruki's words. The teacher meant to make her like Konoha, right? Yes, it seems to be for nothing. Haruki sighed when he heard the answer, but did not explain. He is not a matchmaker, so he can't mess with Mandarin ducks. Probably that means. Haruki replied, and let Wooden Golem come over again, preparing to send the two of them to the land of thunder. Teacher, I want to go too. Kushina looked at him pitifully. She and Minato haven't seen each other for a long time. Speaking of this, Haruki really wants to complain about Minato. You have Flying Thunder God technique, but you don't even have a night attack. Haruki thought for a while and agreed to her request. Konoha's international flight is currently on track. In particular, a weaponless version of an aerial fortress with focus and speed was specially created. Kurama is not as indispensable as imagined. There is no need for Kushina to stare all the time. After sending the three directly in front of Minato, Haruki looked at Kurama again. The reduced version of Kurama immediately showed vigilance, took 2 steps back, and asked with a trembling voice, "What do you want to do?" The old man has always worked hard, except for occasionally playing League of Legends, but it is also off work time. Nothing. Haruki couldn't help smiling when he saw this look. Where is Haki from Nine Tails? Facts have proved that the average guy who drags him hasn't been beaten by the society. He remembered a sentence in his previous life. Before the age of 18, he said that my life was involuntary. After the age of 28, he said that God begs me to let me go. It's bitter. After Haruki left, he returned to Konoha Shinobi First School. Time flies. About a month later, Haruki received news from Obito. Uchiha Madara passed away after confession and fell asleep, waiting for Rinnegan to wake him up and live the second life. Unfortunately, Haruki will let him understand that heaven-defying is not so easy. Speaking of which, after Uchiha Madara's death, his soul returned to the Pure Land. Will he meet Sage of Six Paths? Haruki thought about it. He should meet him. After all, Sage of Six Paths actually controls the Pure Land. At the same time, the death of Uchiha Madara means that Indra Chakra is about to reincarnate. As his opponent, Ashura Chakra will also be born. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 233 New Metropolis. After reading the information given by Obito, Haruki didn't intend to interfere. After Uchiha Madara's death, Obito nominally became the leader of Akatsuki's elite group, but the final decision was absolute. Absolutely, Haruki and Obito both have to deal with it. But the time has not yet arrived. After waiting for Nagato summoning Geto statue and Master Rinnegan, you can try to hunt down Black Zetsu. With Black Zetsu's ability, there is only one chance. If you fail, it will be difficult to find him again. You need to set up a complete trap, gather the strongest combat power, and get Black Zetsu directly. As long as there is no death, Otsutsuki Kagaya will naturally not be able to escape. The remaining trouble can be the Otsutsuki family that pops up from time to time. But with Rinnegan's Nagato and Indra and Ashura chakras reincarnated Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, it is not difficult to think about it. Haruki retracted his thoughts. He intends to take a look at the new metropolis of Shajiguo. As early as last month, Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Shuin found a suitable site for the construction of the metropolis and completed the foundation construction. The Chongbin Plain in the northeastern part of the Fire Country. Haruki's figure appeared. He glanced at the circled metropolis foundation, showing a gray-black patch. Desolate, without any buildings. Haruki retracted his gaze and quickly found the location of Hyuga Hiyashi and others. Not far away, there are several wooden buildings rising from the ground. Hiyashi. Haruki knocked on the door and walked in. In addition to Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Shuin, there are Hyuga Hazashi and a 1-year-old boy. Master Haruki. Sounded in unison. No need to be polite. Haruki waved his hand, looked at the boy in Hyuga Hazashi's arms, and smiled. Is this Neji? This is the first time I have seen him. Yes. Hyuga Hazashi touched Neji's small head, the smile on his face couldn't hide. Since the abolition of the clan family and branch house, coupled with Konoha's growing strength, the newborn baby no longer needs caged bird at all. He reconciled with Hyuga Hiyashi again, and the future is bright. No longer is a branch house, maybe one day he will die because of the clan. It's one thing I came here this time. Haruki changed the subject. Neji is too young. I'll talk about it later when I grow up. I got a dragon vein in the ancient country of Lulan. You can understand it is a sageless tail beast with a huge chakra. I plan to bury it under the metropolis as an energy source. There is such a magical thing. This is the first time Hyuga Hiyashi has heard of dragon veins. He took out the blueprint of the metropolis. In a month's time, he has become a qualified contractor. Hyuga Hiyashi looked at the design drawings and thought about it for a while before he had an idea. At the beginning, considering the issue of water use, the metropolis was set up in the Chongbin Plain. It has a complex and diverse water system connected to the Longbin River on the ground. We will design the Chongbin River as a moat, crisscrossing the metropolis. If possible, inject the dragon veins into the water system. Haruki actually doesn't understand civil engineering. He is a liberal arts student after all. As a collection of chakra, dragon veins do not contain any toxins. It may be a good choice to keep it in the water. In the future, the groundwater may all become the holy water containing chakra. Haruki thought of this and nodded, agreeing to Hyuga Hiyashi's plan. But in this case, the dragon veins cannot simply be sealed. He called Konoha's sealing team. It is not to seal the dragon veins, but to seal the water system. Limit the activities of the dragon veins to a certain range. After several days of hard work, Shingshu released the dragon veins. As soon as it lost its limits, it set off huge waves in the water. But soon encountered an invisible barrier. The dragon veins smashed everywhere, but they couldn't break away. Finally no longer fighting, and Shin lay in the seal pipeline. When the sunny tree saw it, it was covered with a wooden shell. Even if the dragon veins smashed away, he could sense it for the first time, and the flying thunder god technique arrived at the scene. After the energy issue was settled, Hyuga Hiyashi and others continued to build a metropolis. Haruki used wood style to build many houses. Although it is simple, it saves time. The rest of the decoration is left to Hyuga Hiyashi and the others. The project in full swing lasted for about 3 months. The metropolis was completed before Konoha arrived in 51 years. The reason why it can be so fast is because the ninja is far more productive than ordinary civilians. With shadow clone technique, it is very suitable for dry infrastructure. The metropolis is completed. The country of fire, the country of thunder, Cloud Shinobi village, and Konoha village began their great migration. It was originally divided into 4 areas, and even the same department has 4. Although Konoha is the headquarters, there is no doubt that power has been dispersed. Together now, it will be beneficial to the governance of Shajiguo. The center of the metropolis is a huge white building. It is about 300 meters long and 30 meters high. It is the new Hokage building, or the administrative hall of Shajiguo. To the east of the main hall, the empty room was filled with blue light. The light comes from the pattern on the ground. Complex and beautiful. It is the formation. The 2-door gods Konoha stood on both sides of the formation. Shinyuki Izumo knocked on the earphones and asked, "Master Haruki, can you hear me?" Haruki's voice soon came. "Well, I heard it, the communication is very clear, and the next is transmission." "Receive." Shenyu Izumo's tone became serious, and he glanced at Tong Ziti on the opposite side. Tong Ziti nodded immediately, pressed his ears, and connected Anbu Hiroshinji's call. "Hishinji-sama, there is a ninja from Konoha who wants to apply for the Flying Thunder God teleportation array. Do you agree?" "Who is here?" "Haruki, assisted by Hokage, the identity has been verified and it is certain." "Agree," Hiroshinji said. "Clear." Tongziti hung up the communication and immediately activated the Flying Thunder God teleportation array with Shenyu Izumo according to the operation given by Haruki. Haruki's figure appeared in the blue light. "Master Haruki." Shenyu Izumo and Tongziti immediately saluted. "Good." Haruki slowly opened his eyes. Land safely without using any chakra. It proved that his improved Flying Thunder God teleportation array was successful. Although it consumes a lot of dragon vein energy, it is very convenient after all. Especially in times of emergency, it has unimaginable value. Chakra is worth it. You continue to send other people over. After Haruki finished speaking, he left the room. The administrative structure of Konoha village will be moved to the new main hall. Of course it does not mean that it has become an empty village. Rather, it will be used as a battle zone, or the garrison of the ninja army. The same is true for Cloud Shinobi village. Haruki came to Hokage's office. Compared with the old one, the area of this office has almost tripled. It is not a problem to accommodate hundreds of people. Hokage can hold small meetings here. How do you feel? Haruki looked at Tsunade and asked. How about what? Tsunade stopped his movements, raised his head, and smiled. If you say it's a new office, it's not bad, it's quite big. Haruki raised an eyebrow. That's it. If I change it to Danzo, I am afraid that it will drain water excitedly. While there is no one now, should we try the soundproofing effect of the office? Haruki walked up to her and issued an invitation to form a team. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 234 The First Meeting. Facing Haruki's team request, Tsunade refused without even thinking about it. After a while, we will have a meeting. Then next time. Haruki sat down next to Tsunade. According to his request, Hokage's seat has nearly doubled compared to before, and it can fully accommodate 2 people sitting side by side. Of course, he even wants to be bigger. It's a pity that Tsunade didn't want to. Haruki can only give up. Tsunade couldn't help but stared at him. It won't be possible next time. So unfeeling. Haruki held Tsunade's right hand and slowly rubbed the back of his hand. Hearing her words, he scratched her palm. Tsunade subconsciously wanted to withdraw his hand, but was held tightly again. Itchy. She cast a blank look. Haruki knew that she was more ticklish. No matter where she was, she couldn't stand it. So he stopped scratching, but still played with her little hand. Want to say something later? Haruki felt the delicate and smooth skin, and smiled. This should be regarded as Shajiguo's first official conference, or ceremony. Tsunade frowned. She is actually very good at this kind of speech. But Haruki did remind her. This time is special. It would be too perfunctory if it were to be used in Mandarin. Although judging from her current reputation, no matter what she said, everyone bought it. What do you think should be said? Tsunade endured Haruki's kneading and asked back. This. I really don't know. Haruki's face was slightly condensed. He didn't have much impression of what ceremony. The only thing engraved in the DNA of the flower planter is the phrase the great man said to stand up. It seems that it's okay to switch to the ninja world. Haruki and Namikaze Minato took advantage of the war to liquidate the nobles of the country of fire and the country of thunder. The vast majority of nobles have done a lot of evil and have been dealt with in accordance with the corresponding laws. The rest also confiscated the land. Nowadays, Shajiguo basically abolished all kinds of taxes. But the national strength has not been reduced by this. Most of the income comes from Konoha's direct companies and commercial taxes. If the civilians of Shajiguo had to turn in 90% before, then 90% can be left now. Coupled with the vigorous development of business, a large number of jobs have been created. Many people do not have to be confined to a piece of land. However, habitual thinking has not changed for the time being. People still value agriculture more. Ask me without knowing it yourself. Tsunade's other hand twisted around his waist. Just ask if you don't know. Haruki's current sage body couldn't feel her strength at all. Unless you use weird force. Quote. You have a good point. Tsunade curled his mouth and pulled out his right hand. What are you doing? Haruki didn't notice for a while, but she ran away, and said aggrieved, don't you even let me touch it with your hand. Let you think about it. Tsunade snorted, I'll give you a reward if I think about it. How do you feel like a previous teacher assigning homework? Haruki rubbed his eyebrows. This thing is much harder than homework. Tsunade looked at him quietly and suddenly laughed. Are you gloating? Haruki stretched out her hand to pinch her face, and said, it's too much. You do it yourself. Tsunade stuck his tongue out, seemingly proud. What? It was originally your business. Mine is yours. Tsunade used his assassin. Haruki defeated. I can't say no. He rolled his eyes and said, I need a little encouragement to figure it out. Oh. Tsunade raised his eyebrows when he heard the words, with a charming smile on his face. Damn it too. This woman. If it weren't for a meeting soon, he would definitely make her stand still and couldn't go out. Haruki took a deep breath and said, in your office, you are the master. Tsunade raised his chin slightly, his eyes dangled up and down his body, and said, hurry up. After speaking, he quickly kissed the corner of his mouth. Haruki was stunned. That's it. What are you doing with so many preludes? Deceive my feelings and waste my expectations. He thought it would be a more complicated operation. I have done what you said. Tsunade smiled and poked him on the shoulder. Hey, come back, quickly find a way for me, time is running out, we will start at 9 o'clock. Don't rush. Haruki glanced at him bitterly. If the horse is not given grass, how can it run hard? He thought for a while and said, there is no need to say some bells and whistles, it would be better to be straightforward. Recalling some speeches in previous lives, Haruki explained the general structure to Tsunade. Because it is the first meeting of Shajiguo, the first content must be announcing the official establishment of Shajiguo and the completion of the metropolis. Secondly, the functions and members of various departments, especially those who performed well in the last war, can read all their names. Then there are the main programs and policies of Shajiguo in the future, the things to be done next, the goals to be achieved in the future, and so on. Finally, it is a concluding remark and expresses goodwill to the outside world. Under the premise of respecting relevant regulations, alliances can be established. Although it looks simple, it is not easy to write. Haruki and Tsunade worked hard for an hour and barely finished sorting out the content of their speeches before the start of the conference. Leaving the office, the two went to the conference hall. Under the brilliant lights, there are nearly 10,000 seats. Those who are eligible to participate in this conference are almost from the policy department. The policy department is elected by the street processing department. Haruki also implemented a similar system outside of Shinobu village. In other words, the ninjas and civilians who appear here involve various departments and all walks of life. Haruki found his seat. On the left-hand side of Tsunade. On her right is Uchiha Makoto. Hitaki Shushige, who is also Hokage's assistant, sat on Haruki's left. Kakashi, how are you doing? Because the meeting had not officially started, Haruki was free and started 8 trigrams. He got a big improvement over Minato. Hitaki was a little bit emotional. He just met Kakashi just now, and his personality has become more cheerful. Let him thank Minato very much. In addition, the strength also surprised him. He could actually detect the danger from Kakashi. Has he and Yu Wooden Golem made any progress? Haruki is not very interested in Kakashi's strength or anything. By Wooden Golem. Hatake was startled slightly, and asked in confusion, is there any relationship between Wooden Golem and Kakashi? Do not you know? Haruki gave him a surprised look. Hatake Tsukumo's eyes narrowed. Did I miss some earth-shattering event? I'm not sure. Kakashi didn't tell me. Oh, there shouldn't be much progress. Haruki guessed, and saw that his face was full of curiosity. You can check with Kakashi. Okay, I see. Hatake was distracted for a while. By Wooden Golem. Jinchuriki is afraid it will be difficult to suppress. He was worried about Kakashi's health. Haruki didn't know what Hatake was thinking about. He glanced at the time, at 9 o'clock exactly, and knocked on the table. The crisp voice covered all kinds of discussions. Tsunade stood up and began her speech. The speech did not end until noon. For the next period of time, the main thing is to move. The new metropolis is officially in operation. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 235 Kurama is ready to help. Haruki glanced at the sky. The magic circle outside the metropolis formed a barrier to keep out the cold winter weather. He is now standing in front of a two-story building. A residential area specially built for official members of the various departments of Shajiguo. Before the design, Haruki considered the problem of future population. The new metropolis is nearly 5 times larger than the metropolis of the Country of Fire, and can accommodate 5 million people. In this era, it can be called a super big city. Due to the large area, many plots were vacant in the early stage. Haruki simply built all these two-story houses and provided them to members of various departments for free. And this policy has also been supported by the majority of members. Even in the first few years when ninja was the mainstay, it was not easy to get a house. Most ninjas are actually not very wealthy. Haruki's approach allowed them to save a lot of money. Recovered, he rang the doorbell. After a while, the door opened. Teacher, you are here. Minato stepped aside, and when he came in, he closed the door. Haruki looked at the layout of the hall curiously. Ordinary and simple, it is completely invisible that it is the residence of the great Konoha hero Minato. More like an ordinary civilian home. But it's not surprising. Neither Minato nor Kushina are greedy people. Haruki caught the teacup that Minato handed over. Teacher, wait a moment, the food is not ready yet. It's okay. Do you need my help? No, just have Kushina. Minato pointed to Kushina in the kitchen and smiled. She has improved a lot in her cooking skills now. Haruki smiled and said, then I will look forward to it. I won't disappoint the teacher. Minato was confident. I'll go to the kitchen first. Haruki waved his hand and drank another cup of tea. He looked at Kurama on the sofa. It is hidden under the cushion, silently thinking that I can't see me and I can't see me. Kurama, what are you doing? Quote. Kurama stiffened, poked her head out, and said, sleeping. Oh, what do you sleep in broad daylight? Nothing to do. Kurama subconsciously found a reason, but immediately felt wrong. Isn't this digging a hole for yourself? Sure enough, Haruki's next sentence sounded. Recently, you are indeed more leisurely. I'm actually quite busy. I'm protecting Kushina, yes, protecting her. Kurama patted his chest quickly. It is indispensable for us to protect Jinchuriki. Haruki couldn't help laughing. Good guys. You can say this kind of reason. What I said is true. Kurama saw Haruki's smile, thought he didn't believe it, and emphasized. I believe you for the time being. Haruki raised his finger to the wooden stool opposite him, and said, Kurama, sit down. Kurama hesitated, but still squatted obediently on the wooden bench. I have an idea. Haruki's eyes shone with light. Kurama suddenly felt a deep malice. It subconsciously wants to run. But then I remembered that I couldn't run at all. As long as Kushina is here. It can't run too far out of her range, otherwise it will be pulled back to the small black room in her body. Don't worry, it's not a bad thing. Haruki noticed its expression and comforted it. Kurama. Are you polite? This kind of malice almost drowns the old man, don't you think it's not a bad thing? It really wants to complain about the damn it human in front of it. But how dare not? Its voice trembled slightly. What's the matter? There is a mysterious organization in the ninja world. They are very interested in the tail beasts and are preparing to combine you into 10 tails. What? Before Haruki finished speaking, he was interrupted by the shocked Kurama. If it returns to 10 tails, it means it may lose itself. This is scarier than being Jinchuriki. At least Jinchuriki can still see hope. Once it becomes a part of 10 tails, it is almost impossible to escape. But Kurama looked at Haruki suspiciously after a moment. How can there be a stronger organization than Konoha? There is distrust in the eyes of the words. It feels that Sunny Tree is going to lie to it again. Damn it. If it weren't for it, how could there be a chance to cheat it? It has long been crushed into mashed flesh. The ninja world is so big, there are no surprises. Haruki shook his head and said, Sage of 6 Paths alone can flatten Konoha. But there is only one Sage of 6 Paths, and it's dead. He's dead doesn't mean that there can be no second one. Haruki stared at Kurama, and said solemnly, the leader of this mysterious organization has a pair of Rinnegan. Rinnegan. Kurama's small eyes opened wide. Rinnegan knew it back then. As a unique favor of Sage of Six Paths, it not only obtained chakra far surpassing the other eight-tailed beasts, but also understood the many secrets of the Otsutsuki clan. After all, Sage of Six Paths has to dispel loneliness. Hold it and chat when it's okay. Could it be Uchiha Madara? Kurama thought about it, and only Uchiha Madara, who used it as a summoning beast, was eligible to come into contact with Rinnegan. Although he was beaten violently by Senju Hashirama, his strength is beyond doubt. And he owns Mangekyo Sharingan. There is the possibility of evolving Rinnegan. Haruki glanced at it unexpectedly when he heard the words. This fox doesn't know anything. It is indeed Uchiha Madara. Haruki didn't have much explanation either. Besides, Uchiha Madara is not wrong. You should know his strength best. Even now I can't say that it is a steady win, so I need your help, Kurama. Old man's help. Kurama was stunned, a little unresponsive. It recalled the battle between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. I was forced to help, but the result was terrible. My old man's strength may not be able to help you. Kurama shook his head seriously, the old man is too weak. Don't be too busy to refuse, you can definitely help with this. Haruki smiled and said, if you want, I can get you out of Kushina's body without hurting Kushina's life. Kurama couldn't help but quickly asked, what you said is true. Certainly. Haruki nodded and asked, have I lied to you? Quote. Kurama didn't bother to answer the question, tangled on its little face. Since the conditions are so generous, things must be big. It bit and asked, what do you want me to do first? This mysterious organization wants to synthesize 10 tails. You are an indispensable condition. Haruki wants to deal with Black Zetsu. You have to create a safe environment that cannot tolerate his rejection. And getting 9 tails is undoubtedly such an opportunity. With Obito, he can trick Black Zetsu into a trap. I don't want to do it, old man. After listening to Haruki's explanation, Kurama immediately refused. Is this really helpful? It's all about fishing by yourself as bait. It thought it was a difficult thing because of it. It turned out to be this. Outrageous. You gods fight, can you let the old man go? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 236. After the friendly exchange between Haruki and Kurama, who knew the righteousness, agreed to help him deal with Black Zetsu. Needless to say, such noble character. Kurama was moved to tears. Haruki looked at the food served by Minato and Kushina. In terms of appearance, it is very good. Due to his influence, their daily dishes have been replaced with a variety of Sichuan dishes. Teacher, try it. Kushina looked at him expectantly. After so many years, her culinary skills can finally be served. Haruki picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of twice-cooked pork. The rich aroma exploded in the mouth. He couldn't help but nodded in praise. It's already at the level that can open a restaurant. Kushina breathed a sigh of relief when she heard the words, and immediately laughed again. Kurama, you try too. Haruki looked at Kurama, who was downcast, and said. Kurama raised his head and thought for a moment. It has not actually been eaten at a formal dinner table because it can't use chopsticks. The claws of tail beasts are clearly different from human hands. If you just pour the plate into your mouth, it is afraid that it will have to go on the road after eating. Kurama stretched out its claws, a red light flashed, and its claws turned into human hands, imitating Haruki and the others, using chopsticks to pick up a piece of fat. It smashes its mouth. The taste is good. It's just too little, not enough to cram the teeth. There is no feeling at all after eating. Haruki looked at this weird scene, always feeling a little bit underworld. Kurama grows a human hand. It's really weird. He retracted his gaze and stopped looking at it. Speaking of which, why didn't you see Yu Zhaoqian? Haruki thought of Kurama's little brother. Oh no, little sister, it seems that she hasn't seen her in a long time. She should be in Shinye village. Minato replied, Tamazao likes to travel around in the mountains and water, and we generally don't care about her. I see. Haruki wasn't surprised either. Tamazu front was a genuine fox after all. Kurama on the side is very envious, jealous and hateful. Why does a little fox live better and happier than the old man? Is this the side effect of being powerful? The three of them, one-tailed beast, quickly finished their meal. Of course Kurama was not full at all, but it dare not let go of its stomach to eat. So as not to eat the big fist of the Sunny Tree sandbag. After Kushina and Minato washed the dishes, we started today's business. If you two have anything to say, right. Haruki was invited by Minato. He looked at the expressions of the two people, seeming a little shy. I probably had a guess in my mind. You two are planning to get married. He thought of this idea and said it. As predicted. The two nodded together. This is a good thing. Haruki has a sense of accomplishment as children grow up. Kushina and Minato are also considered to have grown up as he watched them. Plus 2 people are orphans. It is not an exaggeration to say that Haruki is their male mother. Teacher, We have a ruthless please. Minato did not answer the wedding date directly, but hesitated and said, we hope to do it after you get married. Haruki looked at him in surprise. He hadn't really thought that Minato would say this. The reason why Kushina and I can get to where we are today is largely due to your teaching. So I hope that you and Tsunade-sama will be our elders and support the wedding for us. As expected of Minato. Sensible. Haruki didn't think much, so he agreed to their request. In fact, he and Tsunade are old couples and wives long ago. Whether the wedding is done or not is just a matter of form. It just so happens that the metropolis is newly built. It seems very good to have a wedding. Haruki returned home and told Tsunade about this. I thought you forgot. Tsunade looked at him faintly, with a trace of sadness in his eyes. Haruki smiled embarrassedly, hugged her quickly, rubbed her chest twice, and said with a smile, it's not too late. Tsunade clenched his fist and knocked on his head. After a while, the child will have soy sauce. Why is it so exaggerated? Haruki took her hand and sat side by side on the sofa. Tsunade turned on the TV. After Okichi's propaganda department took over the TV station, it reformed the TV in accordance with his instructions and the model of the previous life. The TV in the original is not very useful. Now it has become a must-have for every household, just like a computer. Konoha Love Story is playing on TV. Haruki leaned on Tsunade, looked at the screen, and asked, when is the wedding going to be held? The first day of the new year. Tsunade's cheeks were next to his hair, itchy. Then there is still half a month, too late. Haruki calculated the time, and the preparations were quite enough. He suddenly had an idea. The last time I got engaged was according to Konoha's tradition. Why not follow the etiquette of my hometown this time? From your hometown? Tsunade became interested. She remembered the Shuanshu ninja village mentioned by Haruki, and asked, is the wedding ceremony different in your hometown? Because she remembered that weddings should be the same everywhere. Different. Qingshu smiled and told her about the Chinese wedding. From the process point of view, the big difference is not bad, mainly in clothing and dress. How about it? It feels very interesting. Tsunade barely hesitated and said, then follow the wedding ceremony you said. Okay. A smile appeared on Haruki's face. He still missed the wedding in his previous life. After all, I have never experienced it. Now that I have a chance, it would be a shame not to try. Since it is a Chinese wedding, the entire ninja world has not experienced it either. Qingshu naturally couldn't find Hanfu. Fortunately, Hanfu is the origin of kimono, and there are certain similarities between the two. Relying on the memories of previous lives, Haruki restored it. As the news spread, the entire metropolis plunged into a festive atmosphere. Red lanterns were hung in the streets and alleys. With poor blessing, lively can be seen everywhere. If someone else proposes to have a different new year, naturally no one will care. But if Konoha says he wants a new year and wedding in his hometown, no one will object. On the contrary, they find it very novel. Master Haruki. Murata Ichiro, who was in charge of ninja, knocked on the door. Please come in. Haruki rubbed his wrist, and compared to the previous engagement, more people were invited this time. Is there a problem? My lord, what you have explained to us is done. Muramasu Ichiro said with joy on his face. Oh, that thing. Haruki's eyes lit up, a little surprised. He thought it would be longer. Yes, it's the car you said. Go and see. Haruki stood up, a little impatient. Who would not like luxury cars? At the research institute, he saw a white car. From the outside, it is almost no different from the car in his mind. Of course he knows that the internal gap is huge. The omnipotent chakra replaced the engine. But in any case, the appearance is very cool. It happens to be used at weddings, and by the way a wave of advertisements. Ninjas may not have access to cars. However, there are more than 90% of ordinary civilians in Shajiguo. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.